Oh, goodbye.
Hello, everyone.
Surprise!
Shush. Talk with a vulnerable angel and friends. I am your host, the vulnerable angel, Dominica May. And tonight I am joined with my usual guests, Sharad and Mike. Sharad coming in from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and Mike from New York City. And I am in California. Let's not be specific. With the new administration that has come in now, I was like, maybe I should be more concerned. So what this show is about is we just get deep and vulnerable and have conversations. Sometimes we have some question cards that we use to prompt the conversations. Other times we just go, we just talk about whatever comes up. And I kind of feel like now that there's some new stuff that has been happening in the US this week, I don't know. Do you guys want to? You don't want to talk about it? We're all good. I have a lot of feelings, but sure, we can we can avoid that. On a side note, I shared a video this week where I thought it'd just be funny to like I had to go to the grocery store on Monday, which was inauguration day here. And there's
I'm sorry. It was Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
yes,
That's what day it was.
that is the preferable day that we should be talking about, sure.
Yeah.
But that's not relevant to the video that I was talking about. So otherwise, sure, we can talk about that next. If you have stuff that you want to talk about with that. But yeah, I just thought I'm going to the grocery store today, just offhandedly thought, you know what, I'm going to do some filming in my grocery store because people were complaining about grocery store prices. Let's compare.
That's a good idea.
Obviously, nothing is going to change in one day, right?
No.
I'm like, this is clearly a joke kind of thing. So I just put together this quick video about it, thinking this is just a joke. This is just a joke. And then I shared it on multiple platforms. My dad commented kind of defensively about it. And we got into some political conversations that I've never had with him before, but he was open to listening to my side of things, which was interesting. He decided not to be reactive. Meanwhile, the comments that I got on TikTok were definitely from the opposing political spectrum than what I follow. So that was interesting because I've never kind of opened myself up in that way before. So yeah, that was my big thing for the week. You guys had anything big happening for you guys this week?
Mike?
Yeah, a friend of mine died.
Oh, shit, I'm sorry.
So that's why I couldn't do the stream last week. Really close friend of my wife's, who became a good friend of mine. He was diagnosed with ALS about 8 months ago, and fuck, this disease just ravaged his body so quickly. Like we could see how quickly it was deteriorating his body. So for anyone watching who don't know or who is unfamiliar with ALS and the effects that it has or whatever, it attacks your muscles, basically, like the I can't think of the terminology. Anyway, it basically makes your muscles stop working progressively. So early on, he was having some trouble with his neck. About a year ago, a little over a year ago, he was having some trouble like moving his neck. So he had surgery, thinking that the surgery is going to fix whatever. It didn't fix what they thought that it would fix. And then, long story, fast forward a few months to June or July is when the official diagnosis of ALS came in. And then 1 week later, like 1 week to the day after the diagnosis, or the official diagnosis, is when his complete 100% of his left arm went completely immobile. He had no use of his left arm. It just hung there like Bob Dole. So, see, I can make political references too. Yeah, no. So, and then like his speech started going, and then his breathing, and anyway, so it was his respiratory system that just finally gave out, and it was, yeah, it, from diagnosis to death, it was about 8 months. So,
Wow.
yeah, really sucks.
It's so fast. Yeah, I wasn't going to bring it up because I wasn't sure if you wanted to talk about it, given it was so sudden and recent. And that was the reason that you were not available last week. But I'm so glad that you were able to go out and see him again.
Same, yeah, definitely. Funny thing, in crises, I deal pretty well in crisis mode, and I know my wife does as well. But there was something about just being in the hospital that put me into crisis mode. Like being in the hospital with all of their friends and their family, and just like seeing. I had a really hard time going to his room to see him again. In fact, I don't even know if he saw that I was there, like because he was no longer able to like move his head from side to side, and he was like coming in and out of sleep and whatever. So at the moment that I actually mustered the gumption to go into his hospital room in the ICU and see him, like I couldn't say anything. It was really hard for me. But oddly enough, after he passed, like I was just totally like, okay, cool, very matter of fact, like what needs to be done, like how can we help, just it just became very matter of fact to me, and the emotional side had kind of passed. um Obviously that doesn't happen for everyone, especially the family. Like they're still having a, I'm obviously, as you would,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
only been a few days, but
It might hit you more later. I feel like that's kind
it
of
may.
what I was like when my mum passed away. Um, I was 21 when my mum died, and being the eldest of her children, I went straight into I have to handle all of this stuff mode. It's like I was the one that was kind of in charge of handling all of the uh, preparations that you have to deal with for the funeral and all of that kind of thing. So I had to compartmentalize, put my grief aside. I still don't know if I've properly grieved my mother's death, honestly.
What's interesting for me is that when my dad died almost 7 years ago, the whole time that he was in the hospital, of course, like we're all like, tensions are running high, or like, ooh, whatever. But like the night he died, we went back to the hospital. He had already left his body, so we just kind of like hung out with his remains um, for, I don't know, like an hour, and then we left the hospital. We came back home to my mom's home, and we all went to bed, and this is maybe like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I cried so fucking intensely for like 15 minutes, just like blubber, snot, mucus, saliva, everything was just coming out of me. And that went on, like I said, for 15 minutes solid. And after that, I was good. Like I got it all out in those 15 minutes. And then I was, again, everything just kind of became very matter of fact. Like it had happened, it had come and gone. I had 15 minutes of the most intense grieving I've ever had in my life, and that was it. But now, like I said earlier, everyone processes grief in different ways, and so I think this is just kind of my way. It's It wasn't like that when I was a kid, or I wasn't like that as a kid, but now in adulthood, I guess. Adulthood.
Oh, that's
He
like...
says wearing a Comic-Con hoodie, surrounded by...
Look, I'm wearing a schoolgirl outfit, okay?
I thought that's what... Is that the same outfit that you wore on stage for your...
This is one of
show?
my schoolgirl outfits. So I wore a different one last week, and I just chose to wear this one this week because...
How many do you have?
Just the 2. Yeah.
For now.
Well, you know, I have very minimal income right now, so unless somebody else wants to buy me a new one, so I have multiple to choose from.
I do not.
Look up Dominica's Patreon if you wish to contribute to this fund. So.
Look at Dominica's OnlyFans account.
Oh!
No, I do have a Ko-fi account for people sending. Also, like, people can PayPal me money or support me in any ways. It's fine. I don't actually expect anyone to donate money to me.
Notice how she said she didn't say anything about the OnlyFans thing, so that could be an option down the line. So
you didn't deny it.
The tier section.
I do not have an OnlyFans, but I have had so many male friends suggest that I should get one.
See?
I'm like, why?
See?
Why?
Hold on, wait. You should only get one if you want one. There's nothing. There's nothing wrong with it if that's what you're into. If that's that's something that you enjoy, providing those services for people, go for it. Nothing wrong with it.
No shame.
No judgment.
I'm not going to judge other people. It's not my kind of thing. I guess for me is, I wonder why I've had so many male friends suggest it to me. That's my question. Why have I had... And I guess the side piece to that is the side...
I see what you did there.
Yeah, I know. That was unintentional, but fun in the moment. The side note to that is, I've talked about this before. It's not like I have a long line of men hitting on me, trying to date me and stuff. So it feels like a disconnect. Or maybe it's like, I have had men who are or have in the past expressed sexual interest in me, but not wanted to have a romantic relationship. Is that what it seems like? I'm more likely to have guys sexually attracted to me, but not want the whole kitten caboodle relationship kind of thing. What is it about me that makes it seem like I should have an OnlyFans?
So I have a few thoughts on it, but I want to hear from Sharad first.
Well, okay, yeah, cheers, Mike. I think, well, it's really funny you mentioned that because I think I was on Instagram a few days ago or something, and I was just like, I've developed a very bad habit of just scrolling through random reels, and I saw one the other day about this young lady. She has an OnlyFans. She was having an interview, and she said on her OnlyFans she doesn't do any nudity or anything at all like that. Basically, she connects with her audience, her paying contribute audience, and she does provide services. Like, she'll do video calls, phone calls, telling them, like, giving them positive reinforcement. And I was like, this is interesting. It's like and she said, like, for example, there was a guy who was struggling to make ends meet, and he was looking after his elderly mother, and she gave him a good rating. And the video pretty much was, keep doing what you're doing. I'm proud of you. Keep going on. And it blew my mind. So, that could be, who knows, what all kinds of different options you could possibly pursue.
That's a really fascinating use. And using that tool for good use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts were, Dominica, I feel like there's two possible scenarios of why you perceive this. One is, if I may, a few weeks ago, you had mentioned, I think I posed the question to you, how do you, or how in the past have you received validation? And you said like there was something about like sexual gratification.
Yeah,
or
that was the Vice's question. If anyone's
Oh,
curious,
vice. Yeah.
I shared a video with clips from that conversation today.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Full circle. So I wonder if, because that was a thing of your past, if that's just something that you're, when I say hypersensitive to, I don't mean like, ooh, you recoil, but I mean, it's just something that you are aware of. And so whenever people mention that to you, it's just, that's information that you log in your brain because that's something that you have deemed noteworthy for whatever reason. The second thought is, it's possible that this happens to everyone. Everyone gets mentioned to by their guy friends of, hey, why don't you have a OnlyFans account? But because it's not in our common, not lexicon, maybe vernacular. I don't know. It's not a cultural norm for us to openly discuss our sexual encounters or experiences with other people. So we all kind of live in our own little isolated sexual bubbles, so to speak. Just a couple of thoughts.
I am very interested in what you said about that. This makes me want to pose a question on Facebook for my female friends. Be like, how many of you have had a male friend suggest that you get an OnlyFans? Now I'm curious. Am I unique, or are there other people who've had that sort of thing?
Or maybe you're just the kind of person that oozes sexuality, either consciously or subconsciously, and people are picking up on it and go, you know what? Let's put this to good use. I don't know.
You know what they say: if you're good at something, never do it for free. So,
well, Joker said that.
Well, yeah, true.
I don't know. Like, I feel I'm not the kind of person that has typically used my sexuality in that kind of way. And I guess I struggle to think how I could. Like, even in the times where I've tried, I don't think that it's been successful. Not that I've tried to do in the selling my body kind of sense, but in terms of trying to attract a partner or something, I don't feel like I've been especially successful in that area. So it doesn't compute, or it doesn't translate for me to think that that doing it for money on OnlyFans would be any different than how it is in real life. You know? Even if it was something that I was interested in doing. So yeah, I don't know.
Jared, now you put the idea into my head of like, what are some other things that you could do on OnlyFans? And now I'm thinking like, if I were to start an OnlyFans site for myself, could I just tell like improvised jokes?
Yeah.
Like that's the whole thing. You come to me with a few suggestions, and I come up with like just these jokes on the fly.
I mean, obviously, I'm not that familiar with the website officially. That's my official statement. But you know, if who knows, if that's your services where you kind of brainstorm or even workshop ideas, put it on there. Why not?
Like an online version of a comedy club.
Yeah.
I guess one of the things I struggle with this also is I barely get much, you know, or I barely get very many viewers on the things I share on social media. So why would having an OnlyFans account be any different than that? Like, what's the kind of... Obviously,
Well,
I've done
I mean,
zero research into OnlyFans.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing as like, oh, I'm only on Facebook. Why should I go to Twitter or Instagram or YouTube? It's the same thing. It's like it's just a different avenue to kind of go down it. That's all. Some people spend more time on YouTube, some more in TikTok. Why not? It's just a different avenue.
Potentially different audience.
So this is what Google AI has to say when I asked it, how does OnlyFans work?
Tell us.
OnlyFans is a subscription-based platform where content creators like models, artists, or fitness experts post exclusive photos, videos, and live streams that their followers can access by paying a monthly subscription fee. Essentially, fans pay to see the content a creator posts, and the creator earns a percentage of that subscription money based on their follower count and the content they share, with the platform taking a cut of the revenue.
Notice it said artists and fitness experts as well.
As examples, but yes. Yeah. Officially, that's the variety of content. While often associated with adult content, OnlyFans also hosts creators from various fields like fitness, music, and art.
Yeah, I guess, like I said, I've struggled to build a following of an audience in general, like anywhere. So I don't see why it would be any different on a platform like that, regardless of whatever content I was producing on there. Like, who's going to pay to see whatever I post?
Well, here's the thing. I think like there's an audience that goes to OnlyFans looking for something. People don't go to social media looking for something, right? So I kind of like the example that, or the story that Sharad shared of, here's this person who encourages people. Like, people sign up apparently on OnlyFans to like looking for self-help. Maybe they just need someone to talk to
connect with. Yeah.
They're not looking for, someone who enjoys putting feet in mouths, but rather they're lonely and they just want to have a conversation with people.
Mike, I will challenge your perspective that people don't go to social media looking for particular things, though, because the search terms that I have seen that have come up for things that I have shared would probably disagree with you. Like, I don't know why, because there's no evidence of it in the video, but one of the search terms that was used for one of my videos that I shared last week was big boobs. So people are searching.
You're welcome.
People are going to other places for specific things. They just don't want to pay for it with these other platforms. Right?
It's really, if you have them, flaunt them. So
I'm not that big. I mean, and especially you can't tell in this, because it's like
wait, you came up on other people's search results
for under big boobs.
Under big boobs, yeah.
You came up.
Yeah. One of my videos was they clicked on one of my videos when they searched for big boobs.
I pop up when people search for that, but it's the singular, not the plural.
Well, big boob.
Oh yeah.
You're just a massive boob.
Yeah, that's right. I think that was one of my schoolgirl videos. It might have been the anime schoolgirl one. But anyway. Before we get started on any actual questions, if there is anyone watching us right now, Restream suggests that there is. You do not have to leave any comments in the chat if you don't like, but if you would like to ask us a specific question for
anything
us
at all,
discuss anything.
Who is your daddy and what does he do?
The meatier, the better.
Every time, Sharad.
Every time. Consistency is key.
Wait. Who is my daddy and what does he do? My daddy is Frank and often watches these live streams and chats.
My daddy is Jerry, and what does he do? He flies around on a white puffy cloud.
My dad is probably not going to join us tonight. He did message me, yes, I think yesterday or the day before, to say that he was probably not going to be available.
I would just like to point out that we never got around to hearing back from Mr. Sharad.
Oh, yes.
How was your week? Any big things happen over this past week?
Yes and no. Well, basically, my car broke down in the middle of the road the other day, which was a nightmare. I had to wait about 4 hours for it to get towed.
What?
And yeah, it was a long session. But yeah, but other than that, things were good. Like I've been busy with work, speaking with friends, hung out with some of my buddies recently, which was a lot of fun. But I'm on the lookout now for more movies to watch, because recently we've got a lot of films at the cinema, but I'm not quite sure what to watch. Obviously, you have your Nosferatus and what have you, but I don't know. Have you two got anything that you recommend?
Yes, I told you in a message last week, I think, that you should watch Down with Love.
Oh, yeah.
That rom-com that I love so much, because it's such a different rom-com. So that, if you can get a hold of it, I don't know if it's available for streaming anywhere. I have it on DVD, so that's how I watched it. Right. But with Renee Zellweger and Ewan McGregor, love that one. Anything else?
I just went to go see a movie, and now I can't remember what it was. Oh, I saw Wolfman.
How was that?
I liked it. It's not the best movie of all time, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. Moana, that's what it was. We saw Moana 2.
I haven't seen Moana 1. Would that matter?
Yes. You should watch the first one first. Also, because it's better. The first one's better than the second one. So at the very least, watch the first one.
It's a fine movie. It's a good movie. It's Dominica said it. The one's better.
The first one's better.
Wait. But yeah,
especially the songs. The songs. And yeah,
they're not bad. They're not bad songs, but they're not as anywhere near as great as the first one.
They're not as memorable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've also been like watching to pass the time. I don't know about YouTube, but I've been watching a lot of schlock recently. A lot of really bad films and TV, where like it's like it's so bad that it's amazing kind of stuff. I just thought, I don't know why, for some reason, maybe I'm a glutton for punishment, but I started rewatching. I watched the first episode again of The Acolyte, the Star Wars.
Why? You told us you hated it, so why?
It's awful, because I don't know, because I watched it again knowing how bad it was. I don't know, maybe I'm a glutton for punishment. I remember watching it going, yeah, this had no reason right to be made, and I just went off and I just stood in the sun staring at the clouds for like half an hour after that. But yeah, it's just one of those things.
On that note, in terms of watching things that you know that you don't like, I borrowed Love Actually from my library because
it's a good movie.
I personally, I've seen it once. I did not see it in the theater, but people were raving about it. So I watched it years and years ago, and I did not like it. But I know it's like one of those classic rom-coms that a lot of people like. And since we talked about doing a rom-com discussion live stream, I was like, I suppose I should watch it again so I can actually pinpoint the things that I don't like about it.
Did you see it again?
I have not watched it again yet. I've just recently checked it out.
I think it's become just a classic Christmas movie for a lot of people, in the same way that Die Hard has kind of become a classic Christmas movie for a lot of people. I think it's a good movie. It's not even close to being my favorite Christmas movie. Not even. It probably doesn't even crack the top 10 for me.
There you go.
It's good.
we will discuss it when we do our our live stream of romantic comedies. I also borrowed just because they're in front of me right now. But I also borrowed Forgetting Sarah Marshall because
nice.
one of the ones that Sharad mentioned,
So good.
and I have not seen it yet, but
It's so good.
I've heard people mention it a bunch. And When Harry Met Sally, which is of course another obvious classic. I'm like, I want to be prepared for that live stream when we get around to having it.
When are we doing this? But this is like an after the show conversation. But
yeah, at some point, yeah, okay. we'll figure it out. Maybe not until February because I mean we're getting close to February now anyway. But I have SF Sketchfest is happening in San Francisco right now, and I have like all of my weekends have Sketchfest things on my schedule. So I'm like, I don't have a lot of like extra free time for watching movies at the moment.
Sure.
While I should be also applying for jobs and things, you know. Yeah, we'll do it. We can do it sometime in February.
Cool.
So anyone who's watching this stream now or after the fact, who wants to find out when we're doing that, subscribe to the channel and get a notification for upcoming events. I can probably post something to the community page on this channel. I haven't used it very much, but we'll figure it out.
Practice makes perfect.
Yeah. All right. We ready for some questions?
We got questions?
Want some questions?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna pick something from the Play Your Cards Right deck. Because I don't think
I like the design.
Yeah, it's
the font's really nice.
Let me. Ooh, okay. Describe the strangest day or night you've had. I don't know. Ever. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm sharing the link to this video right now because I realized a few weeks ago you're like, Mike, you never shared the link to the video. And so I'm just saying, I'm live right now. Ask us some questions.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Strangest thing.
Strangest day or night you've had. Oh, wow. Four viewers, man. If you're here for Mike, thank you so much.
It hadn't posted yet when you said that it's posted now, but yeah. Okay. Strangest day or night I've ever had.
What qualifies as strange?
I don't know if this falls under the ever category, but this was a really strange thing. Okay, so this happened long before I met my wife, Kim. Hey, somebody is at your door.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, keep going.
It happened long before I met my wife, Kim. So every year I volunteer as an awards presenter and Q&A moderator for the Winter Film Awards here in New York City, live this February. The Winter Film Awards, come check it out. So I volunteer for the Winter Film Awards. Winter Film Awards. Okay. Trying to get that algorithm working in our benefit. Oh, I volunteer for the Winter Film Awards. What? The Winter Film Awards? Yes, that's right. The Winter Film Awards. So I met this woman at the WFA, and it was during the awards, the actual awards ceremony. And we were just hanging out, chit-chatting, talking with each other, and exchanged like personal social media information, whatever. So a few weeks goes by, and she reaches out and she goes, "Hey, you're an improv coach, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Well, I need some help with my acting, blah blah blah, whatever. And so, as some examples, of how she needs to improve her acting, she sent me videos of her. It wasn't an OnlyFans page, but it was something similar. Like she was acting all sultry and sexy and whatever. And she goes, I don't know, is this any good? And I'm like,
Were you just like,
what? Kind of. It was kind of in that realm. And then she sent me a few photos of herself scantily clad, and she goes, I don't know if I like these photos. What do you think?
how's the lighting on this one? Yeah.
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 It was those kinds of questions. And I'm like, what is happening?
A day in the life of Professor Brown.
And then she's like, I don't have any plans this weekend. I'm supposed to stay with some friends, but I'm just crashing on their couch, and I might need a place to stay, kind of thing. And I was like, I'm intrigued, definitely piqued my interest. So I thought all of these texts and videos and pictures she was sending were for a particular purpose, right? I thought she wanted to do me.
Yeah,
So,
I got that.
Yeah.
That's my interpretation of that too.
No.
So I was like, well, I don't really know who this woman is, so I don't feel comfortable inviting her over to my place. So let me get like a cheap hotel room in a kind of a neutral valley out by the airport. So I got a hotel room out by LaGuardia, and I texted her the address and everything, and I was like, it was like the excitement mixed with, like, is this really gonna happen? Is this right? So I'm full steam ahead. I was planning that this was gonna happen, and she comes over, and she was giving me every signal, like, go ahead. And then when I would try something, she would go, whoa, what do you think's going on here? And I'm like, nothing. Absolutely nothing. Okay. And long story short, she ended up falling asleep in bed with me, completely naked, and she was very clear that nothing was going to happen between us. And I was like, what? And so we just fell asleep.
It seems like one of her kinks is just like getting a guy turned on but not doing anything with
It could be.
him.
Honestly, I never considered that. It could be. But like, I don't know if that falls under the category of strangest night ever.
That is.
But that was a really weird one.
What happened after you guys woke up?
I went out and I got like donuts and coffee or something like that, and came back, and I think she had already dressed, and it was like that weird nebulous state of like, well, I don't know what I should do today. I don't know. And I was like, I have to get home. She's like,
You
oh,
have to
maybe
get
I
out.
should come home with you. And I was like, no, let me just drop you off at. So I got an Uber, and it dropped her off at a subway stop somewhere. And then, because I did not want her to know where I lived, especially the night after. I was like, nope. So it was.
No, that's.
And then I just went home. And I told the cab driver all about it. I'm like, dude, I've got to talk to somebody. You're here. This is the craziest thing. Yeah.
God,
That's funny.
things like that. How like, I know men are like, women are so hard to understand. I don't understand that. I don't understand that. Why would someone do all of that and not? Yeah, that's so weird.
I understand if wires got crossed, but
Sure.
you sent me videos, you sent me photos, you beat around the bush, and then you get naked and crawl into bed with somebody you really don't know.
Yeah.
Were you clothed at the time?
I was so befuddled. You know, did you guys watch Frasier, the television show Frasier? There's an episode of Frasier where basically the same exact thing happened. And the whole time he like keeps calling his best friend Roz, who's also his, you know, radio show producer, and he keeps saying, Roz, I don't know what this means. And she's like, what? Do you need like a runway on the mattress with blinking lights? She wants you, Frasier. And then he gets into bed and all this, like she falls asleep. And he's like, Roz, I don't know what's happening. And like just this whole back and forth of like, and I lived that. That actually happened to me.
I have a theory.
Oh,
that's sure.
So maybe this woman was a Frasier fan and was just living out the fantasy of that scene. Of that episode.
That's really funny.
Oh boy. Maybe. I mean, who knows? I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't put it past anybody.
Look, I've certainly done my fair share of unintentionally living out film scenes or film ideas and premises. There was a time that are you guys familiar with the manic pixie dream girl trope?
Remind us.
Oh my goodness. So there's this film trope called the manic pixie dream girl, and it's basically represents the kind of woman that is, you know, like the love interest in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. The girl who comes into a man's life, who like the man is depressed and she comes in as a whirlwind kind of to brighten up his life, has no like goals and dreams of her own, but just like is there to help bring this man out of depression, and is like quirky and all of that kind of thing. Sure. So that's the trope. You might be familiar with this character in a number of films. And so there was a time in my life back in around I think it was like 2015, 20-ish, I realized that I had kind of become a manic pixie dream girl myself, or that's the role that I played in multiple exes' lives. Like they were the depressed guys and I was coming in and like brightening up their lives and helping to make them better, but I didn't really have
would you say you were the angel that swooped in to save them?
Maybe.
Oh.
Symbolism.
And so the reason I kind of had seen that this was a pattern of mine was in this year, I'm pretty sure it was 2015, I went on a couple of dates with a guy who was really depressed. I'd already come out of my state of depression after moving here, and so like I was sympathetic towards his issues, but I did not want to be involved with another depressed man because I knew that it was going to bring me down. But like, so I was just like noticing these patterns. Like, oh my God, I need to stop being a freaking manic pixie dream girl.
Mm-hmm. Remember, it's not your job to save other people.
It is not, no. And so I was good about that. And yeah, I relatedly, this is something I was thinking about earlier today. I did some stand-up about this once, but I was like, I have not slept with anyone new since 2016. That's 9 years ago, or 8.5 years ago. It's been
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing. That's okay.
But that means
you're consistent.
No, that means that I kept going back to exes. That's what it means.
I mean, there's a stigma attached to that. It's only good or bad through the eyes of the person experiencing it, right?
Correct.
So, I mean, is that something that you needed at that time? Maybe, which makes it a good thing.
Oh, yeah. No.
other positives.
Yeah, no one's going to shame you for it. Yeah.
Yeah, you have a history with these people, so they feel safe and comfortable,
Right.
and you know that you don't have to lay any new ground rules or groundwork with a new person, and like you just get to bypass a lot of that stuff, and also knowing that you kind of get to, if either one of you breaks it off sporadically, then it's like, all right, no harm, no foul. We just kind of go back to the arrangement that we had before this started back up again, or
Wow.
maybe
Go back to the
not,
status quo,
or get ghosted.
or get ghosted, or maybe not.
Sure.
But I mean, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
We treat it in our society like it's a bad thing. For men, it's a conquest. For women, it's, you know, being slutty,
I don't
whatever.
know.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
not.
No, but you're right. It was about feeling safe with them, and but it was also, so it was part safety and trust, and part like unfinished business in a way. It's like I never got to. I didn't like the way that those relationships ended. For the most part, most of them. One of them was just a once-off thing, but yeah. So safety was definitely a big part of it. And not as much as I hate this term, not adding to my body count. I'm like, because yeah, I know I clearly have internalized feelings about sluttiness.
Well, I mean,
Anyway.
since we're on the subject, what are your thoughts on people with higher or low body counts? Like, does it matter?
I don't have a problem for other people. You know how people talk about how we judge ourselves more harshly than we judge other people. That's how it is with me. Like everyone else, you can do whatever the fuck you want. I'm not going to judge you for it. But for myself, yeah, maybe it's just my Catholic upbringing. Okay, so back in 2004, 2005 ish, this was when I was 21. My aunt in Wyoming had found out that I was talking to my colleagues at Burger King, co-workers at Burger King.
My peers and colleagues.
My esteemed peers.
My co-workers at Burger King, about like my sexual interests or whatever. And so my aunt got all worried and talked to my grandma about it, because I was staying with my grandma at the time, because this is in Wyoming. I was technically living in Australia, but I was living with my grandma for a little while. So I could work in the US during a 7-month round the world trip, so that I could hit a bunch of festivals without having to go back to Australia and come back again. And so, yeah, so my aunt was being worried about me being slutty, and told my grandma, and they got all judgy at me. And so I think I have like internalize that a bit as like family judgment, and like I shouldn't be doing stuff because my family is going to judge me. So yeah,
Fuck that family.
yeah,
But like seriously,
that's no, oh my god, no. That's my dad's side of the family.
Sorry, Frank.
Yeah. My grandma has since passed away. She passed away when I was trying to, like, I'd gotten married and I had my first child and I was on my way back to see her again, and then she died before I could show her that I'd become the good little girl that she wanted me to be, with a married life and kid and all of this. I was so angry. Like, what a stupid thing, right? I was like, oh, that was back in 2007. So, yeah. So man, this is stuff that I didn't even remember some of this stuff. So good on this stream for bringing back those memories.
You're welcome. How about you, Sharad? What was the strangest day or night you've ever had?
Oh boy, that's a good question. I think it really depends on the circumstance. Like I think the weirdest thing that comes up to mind was, I think it was my freshman year in Savannah, where you know, the typical freshman thing where you procrastinate so much in terms of what your assignment's being due. You're like, it's okay, it'll take 2 seconds, I'll do it.
Freshman year?
Freshman year, yeah, right. And
talk about, I mean, life.
Yeah, and it turned into the longest duration I was awake consistently. It was almost not. I don't think it was quite 3 days, but it was over the 48-hour mark where I didn't sleep at all. And I remember I submitted my last assignment physically. I had to go and submit it, and I got back on the bus towards the dorms. And everything was done, and I'm not joking. I closed my eyes, opened them back up, and I just started hallucinating, like, because I was so tired. And like I started hallucinating that my left arm was talking to my right arm and saying, "Oh, like, you didn't do the assignment right. We're going to get deported and we'll go back to Malaysia." No, it was really, really good. And I just remember just looking at myself, just going, "What is going on?" And just staring at the driver and just being like. And as soon as I got out of the bus, I just like pretty much just legged it towards my dorm room and passed the fuck out, because that was trippy as hell. So yeah, so make sure you get plenty of sleep, kids.
Yeah. That's the lesson from that story. Get sleep. Don't stay up for 48 hours straight.
Yeah, not agree enough there.
Yeah.
For my answer to this question, it's hard because I don't know that I've had really that many strange experiences. But the thought that came to mind when Mike was sharing his story was, and I feel like I'm going to eat my hat with this because you're going to be like, Dominic, you just said all of that stuff about the OnlyFans stuff and that you're not able to use your sexuality. But
well, let's hear this. Okay.
I know.
Interest peaked.
Yes. So I a few years ago took burlesque classes. I know.
I feel like you've told me this before.
Maybe I've told you, but I've not talked about it on the stream.
Right.
So I took burlesque classes, and I was thinking, oh, it'd be fun to do. I want to like build up my sexiness because I'm not feeling very sexy right now. And it wasn't until like the last class that I realized that I was going to have to strip in the class.
Really?
Yeah. I'm like, what? Why would I not think that? But it's like, whatever. But we did have to like prepare a little something. We've talked about this a little bit before, the novel that I wrote about a time traveling pirate. So I have this pirate character that I created. I dress up as her sometimes. And so I'm like, I'm going to bring out that character to burlesque as, and so I got up and did that, in the final class. But after the final class, I went to a bar afterwards with some of with the teacher and a couple of the other classmates, and I guess my friend who was taking the class with me, I won't name her because I don't know if she has shared with other people that she took part in this, but
Clarissa.
She bought me. It doesn't matter what her name is. She bought me a bunch of drinks because she's one of those great friends who buys me drinks. And she likes seeing
Good
drunk
friend.
Dominica. Like she makes a joke like drunk Dominica. So funny.
Oh, Clarissa.
So she got me drunk, and I ended up like doing a strip tease for our other classmate who was there.
Nice.
Who's it was all women. And
the whole bar, apparently.
Yeah, and what?
And the whole bar, apparently, right?
Well,
Since
you
you
know,
were there.
we were at the back of the bar, and there weren't too many
They
people
were in the
there.
champagne room.
So other people might have been paying attention, but I doubt it. Like we were just kind of separate from everyone else. So yeah, I did this little striptease for for one of our other classmates. She was bisexual like me as well. So yeah, we did some flirting and stuff, and that's like the only time I feel like I've flirted with a woman in public and had that kind of scenario happen.
Welcome to our world.
Yeah.
Congrats.
One of us. One of us.
Yeah, this is probably why I have so many male friends.
Yeah.
I'm one of you guys. Yeah, so that was the thought that came to mind that was a little bit strange for me. I this was when I was married as well, so it was a while back. And one of the reasons I kind of it was an awkward time because my ex-husband wanted me to do my burlesque show for him and his girlfriend who was living with us at the time. He wanted me to do this for both of them, and I was like, can't you just like enjoy it, just the two of us? Why does she have to be there? Like, why do we have to make this a big thing? So that was a point of contention for me that made our marriage a little bit more awkward. Yeah.
Communication and respect is key.
Can I just be sexy with one person? Is that all right? Do we, just because I'm bisexual does not mean I want to have threesomes all the time, like, or at all. Like, just
I mean, that's what conservatives believe.
Just because I've had them in the past does not mean. And also, like, you know, my ex-husband wanted that to be a triad situation for all of us, you know, being in a threesome relationship. And I'm like, I'm not attracted to her in that way. I feel like her mother because she's 11 years younger than me. Like, I feel like an adult to her. Now, granted, this person and I are good friends now. And in fact, got a text from them today. So because
Nice.
I was requesting for some help for job search stuff, and they replied to give me a hand with that. So but yeah, I mean, you can have a friendship relationship and you don't need to have the sexual component. Come on, guys. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if I can suggest something, it's a very, it's a massive fallacy that I think most men like live with, because I mean, and you know, I like to think that we're all not that different, but the idea of one guy having two women, that's the ultimate fantasy, right? I mean, the idea that we're such manly men and we need two women to satisfy. But at the same time, it's just one of those things that's ingrained into our minds from an early age.
Okay, I have a good story about this. That kind of challenges that. I need to have that kind of thing. I've talked on this stream multiple times about my ex Lee, Malaysian guy, and when I was last with him last January. We were I don't remember which deck it was. We were pulling cards from one of these two decks, or yeah, one of these two decks. And that's the wrong one. That one. And one of the questions was if something to the effect of if someone approached you wanting to be a third with the two of you, how would you respond to that? And his response was, no, I wouldn't be interested, because basically he wanted me all to himself. And then he was like, unless it's a clone of you, because then I could have two of you. I'm like, oh, interesting.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
I thought that was so sweet.
That's really sweet.
But I mean, it brings up another question, which is, would you feel comfortable having sex with yourself?
I mean, what is masturbation?
Well, okay.
The old
But,
age-old
like,
question, yeah.
if there was a clone of you, like Jamie Madrox from the X-Men, multiple
Right.
man.
Yeah.
Multiple man, he can reproduce as many or as few of himself as he wants. So if Jamie Madrox reproduces another version of himself that later will be reabsorbed back into Jamie Madrox prime, would you enjoy having sex with your multiple clone? That their thoughts and experiences will become yours once they get reabsorbed back into
so
you.
that you still get to... Yeah, then I think I probably would. I think, especially if it would depend who the other partner is, or if it's a threesome situation. But if it's just me and my clone, that would probably be weird. But if I was doing it in the scenario that I brought up, with my ex, for a case of pleasing him, I probably would be fine with it. If it was with my ex-husband. No.
Not today. Not today.
But, I'm at the point where I would never have sex with him at all in any kind of scenario. So.
Fair enough.
No, I feel like I might be a little uncomfortable with that. Sharad?
Yeah, I don't think if it was a clone of my or if I don't know, it'd be weird because would I have to high five myself, maintain eye contact at the same time? That'd be kind of strange. But I don't know. If anything, but you know what they say, like, never
propose it in this way, right? Like, rather than see it as, you're doing it with yourself and locking eyes and that kind of thing. If it was, say, you were in a DP kind of situation with a woman.
Right.
So you were going with her in both holes at the same time with both of your bodies.
Then yeah, sure. Eiffel Tower head, just high five myself. Yeah, sure. If that's the case, why not?
Yeah, that's how I was kind of picturing the scenario.
and yeah, sure. If it's that scenario, I suppose so. But as long as there's no like the fallout where we're all three of us are lying in bed, just going, so what are we doing tomorrow? That'll be a bit weird. But if it's just for like that moment, that multiplicity, yeah, sure, why not?
Especially if you're absorbing yourself back in, the other person back into yourself.
I don't think I would like it.
You don't like it? I would like that.
Yeah, but just think how efficient you would be. Right? While that's happening, another part of you could be doing your taxes, another one could be doing a live stream. So you just So
yeah, in that sense, yes. From a purely sexual standpoint,
no, but from a sexual standpoint, I mean, the fact is you're literally covering all of your bases. Let's say Mike Prime is focused on one part, Mike Beta can be focused on another part, and so that way no one can accuse you of being lazy.
I mean, in that regard, now I really have to rethink this. Which superhero would you want to be, or what superpower would you want? I don't know. Jamie Madrox, man, multiple man. That's a pretty handy superpower.
Yeah, man.
Get more.
That's a really handy superpower.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, like even in what's it called, Watchmen, the film, where I forgot his name. The guy that's translucent, the main character, like he was having sex with his girlfriend, but another part of him was doing something else, and she's like, "Why aren't you paying attention?" He's like,
"Oh, you mean Dr. Manhattan?"
Yeah, Dr. Manhattan. That's it. Yeah, and he's like, oh, I'm busy doing this. Just like, you're not really here. He's like, I'm right here, and so it's like, no, bring all of you back in. So I mean, I thought that was quite interesting.
But he also, well, yeah. Well, I'm getting into nerdy things. I'll
reel it back in.
Yeah.
All right. Next question.
Speaking of nerdy things, do you guys? There's my segue. Do you guys want to see a magic trick?
Sure.
Let's go for it.
Okay. I've got 2 walls worth of objects behind me. Dominica, you pick one. Sharad, you pick one. And I'm going to make them. I will make them vanish. I'll make them disappear.
There is.
Did I move?
There's a blue car behind you.
Blue car.
Other side. Is it blue? Like right?
Yes,
right there.
Yeah.
Oh, gray. Yeah, that's the James Bond.
Gray car then.
D.B. Martin. Okay.
Can I select the Fantasia Mickey on your left?
You're right up here.
Down below.
Oh,
next
one.
to Alf. Yeah, that Fantasia Mickey.
I have 2 Fantasia Mickeys. I have the larger one and the smaller one. This is the larger one.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, wow. That's so cool.
Yeah, they're snow globes.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty rad. Okay. So we have
Aston Martin. Yeah.
DB Martin. Austin Martin, DB5. Mickey.
Fantasia Mickey.
Fantasia Mickey. Let's see if we can just get that to balance right there just a little bit. All right. So we've got that balanced. All right. You guys ready? I'm about to make them disappear. Don't blink. In 3, 2, 1.
I knew that was going to happen. I knew that was going to happen.
Now I'm going to make them reappear in 3, 2, 1.
What the hell?
Oh my goodness, that magic.
Burn him. Burn the witch.
I thought you were going to try and give me one of them through the screen.
How crazy would that be if you had the exact same piece?
I'm not gonna lie. If you guys did that and you didn't tell me, I would have freaked the fuck out. Honestly.
If what?
If you guys did that and you didn't tell me about it beforehand, I would have freaked the fuck out. If you guys said, let's fuck with Sharad today, like I would have lost it.
You know, he's sent me things and they've turned into other things before. So,
true.
Mike, is there something that you would like to try and give me this time? He's like, but what if I don't get it back again?
What is that pink box on just behind you on the left?
Right here?
Yeah, what is that?
So this is this comes
Danger
from the preface. My wife Kim years ago used to work for General Mills, the cereal company. And so some of the cereals that she used to work on were, Trix cereal. I can't remember some of the other cereals that she worked on, but one of the big things besides Trix is that she worked on the Monster cereals.
Oh wow!
So Frankenberry, Count Chocula, Blueberry, and so Kim collects.
Oh wow! Okay.
Some of the figures and memorabilia of the Monster characters.
There you go.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
So there's that. Here's a little Count Chocula.
Oh, nice.
Funko Pop.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And we have a couple of here's a Blueberry. There's Blueberry in the box, but this Blueberry is out of the box. So it's a glow in the dark Blueberry. But there were other monsters in the series as well that eventually got discontinued. There is Yummy Mummy.
Oh wow, that's nice.
And
careful.
Whoops. And Fruit Brute, the Wolfman.
Oh, the Wolfman.
It's
nice.
still rolling around on the floor. Sorry. Fruit Brute.
Oh, that's cute.
And they just released a new one. Oh, here's the figure of Count Chocula.
Oh, that's cool.
Isn't that fun?
That's very cool.
But yeah, they just released a brand new character, like the first new character in the series in like 30 some years, if not more than that. Her name is, she's a zombie, something I can't remember. Starts with a C. Can't quite remember. But yeah, then there's, these, these little guys and
Nice.
yeah. So anyway, a lot of serial memorabilia.
All right, should we move on to the next question?
Let's go for it.
You want another question from the same box or a different deck?
Let's go same box.
Same box, why not?
All right.
Don't forget the figure on the floor, Mike.
I don't know. The cats are gonna get to it before I will. I can't even see it. Oh, it's way over there.
Picking up all these wild cards that are not relevant. So let me just go with something from here.
Oh, we had one person write a question.
Wait, Japanese. I can't read it. Unless you can read Japanese.
It's pretty much hello, arigato in Japanese. So thank you.
Wait. I'll pull it up just so we can show what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's somebody called Wakutso, which means my trick. So yeah,
nice.
Hello.
Thank you. I did not know that you. Yeah, I didn't know that you could read Japanese.
Well, hello. What's their name again?
Wakutso.
Well, hello, Wakutso.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go. Question from this deck. I don't know if this is a deep question, but let's go with it anyway. We'll see. Well, maybe. We'll see. What 3 trivia categories would you excel at? You can create them to be as specific as you like.
Ooh.
Movie film scores.
Really? Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm really nerdy about film scores.
Nice. Okay.
So that's 1. It says 3. What 3 trivia categories?
What 3? Mormonism. And I'm gonna say James Bond.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. I think hardcore into James Bond for a long time.
I think my number 1, as much as I'd like to deny, would be professional wrestling. That's my kryptonite, my creme de la creme. So I know pretty much everything about that. Probably, what's it called? Sword and sorcery films. Like,
ooh,
yeah.
Sword and Shield?
Yeah, man. Like, as a kid, I got exposed to it a lot younger than I should have been. And I remember I remember last time we were talking about Laserdiscs, the big one. And I remember my mum would rent out like films because of the poster. It looked nice. Like she would rent me like Atoll the Flying Eagle and Conan the Barbarian, and she'd have no idea what's inside it. I was just be like, oh. So I loved it. So probably those and one more. That's a good question. Yeah, probably. I don't know. Maybe maybe action films. That might be a good one. Yeah.
For me,
Vulnerable Angel.
For me, the Vulnerable Angel, I would have to say Disney animated films.
Ooh.
I have a couple of different Disney trivia games, so there's I've already I'm kind of known as that kind of person, I guess. And then I guess the others would probably depend on whatever my special interest is at the time. So right now, my best would probably be Death Note and Demon Slayer because they're the things that I've been diving more deeply into. Like I watched all of Death Note, the anime, and then I watched the live action films, and I'm currently reading the manga. And it's so I'm getting the there are some differences, so I'm oh, that's different. So Yeah, I
Yeah.
dive deep into that, and I did the same with Demon Slayer. Like I watched the anime and then then read all of the manga. So, and then I've just been like throwing names back and forth with my daughter so that we can remember all of the names of the characters. So, yeah, that's probably where I'm at right
Pretty
now.
rad.
Yeah.
Well, I remember like for like season 1 in particular of Death Note, the anime, the writing is just top tier.
It's just
Just
one
so
season,
good.
right? Just one.
From what I can remember, isn't there a second part where there is a new Kira?
Yes, but it's still
Yeah.
all one season.
Oh,
I'm pretty
all right.
sure it's all one season.
Mine probably be the first half then, at least before the second one showed up.
Fair enough. Yeah. It's one of my favorites right now. Love it.
I feel like one of these days the three of us need to do, and maybe it's on a different channel, maybe it's on this channel, but I feel like we need to do trivia night where like so like one of the things that I just fucking love more than The Office would be another.
Which
that
one?
Would be another.
Which
the
one?
American version of The Office. Like one of us creates trivia questions for the other two in like easy, moderate, difficult type stuff. So like I know like tons of film scores, and I just love it. I eat it up, right? You know a lot about Demon Slayer. Sharad, you know what was one of the categories you mentioned? Wrestling.
Professional wrestling, yeah.
So yeah, let's like trivia quiz each other. We'll do like 10 questions each, and just see how we fare.
That's not a half bad idea, actually.
Yeah, we can do that sometime. Yeah. All right, next question. That was a quick one.
I like these quicker ones.
Yeah. All right. Okay. What's something you are insecure about? Have we had a question like this before? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
What is something you are insecure about?
I'm insecure about I'm insecure whenever people are trying to either gaslight me or are venomous in their approach towards me. Like if someone approaches me with the attitude that I'm in trouble, like it triggers that like childhood response that I don't, whether I'm in trouble or not, the sheer, or whether I messed up or not. And usually it's I didn't mess up, but now you were making me feel like I messed up. I believe that I did. Like it's just my natural default to emotionally retreat. And yeah, I'm now that you know my super weakness, please don't exploit it.
No.
No worries.
But yeah, that's something I'm very sensitive in that regard. Like I don't care. Ask me questions. I don't care if you ask me any detail about my life whatsoever. But you can tell when the line of questioning is like trying to make fun of you or trying to create a dirty narrative about you, or I just yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting when you look at the question that we asked a number of weeks ago now about whether we would prefer to be gossiped about or never talked about at all. Right?
Yeah.
Like they were creating a narrative for the purpose of gossiping about you and creating a narrative. But yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people have that same kind of insecurity. I know I have that as well. It's not the first thing that I thought of with this question. actually, when you were talking about that, made me think that that's one of Lee's triggers. is that sort of thing as well. I may have unintentionally triggered that in the past with him, but for me, my insecurity is around being attracted to someone who isn't attracted back, and how to deal with that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough.
Because that's one of those things that it can trigger my need to prove myself. And I don't want to be in that mindset. I don't want to try and, I don't want to feel like I have to prove my worth to somebody, because I'm at the stage of my life now. I'm like, I recognize my inherent worth, and I should be able to be with somebody who recognizes that on their own, right? But I've definitely, it's hard to say whether it would be something that would be triggered now, but definitely in the past, it's been one of those things that makes me hold back from expressing interest in somebody, because I'm like, what if they don't like me, and then things go wrong, and yeah.
I mean, it's very difficult because you're stuck in your head and you're always replaying the worst case scenario. And one thing that a lot of people, psychiatrists have told me in terms of my illness and whenever I speak with them, is they always say, you're worried about things that are outside your area of control. You can't control other people. All you can do is control yourself. And it's a difficult kind of situation to be in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I guess I still have that, even you can have contrary perspectives in your mind, right? It's like have beliefs that are contrary to each other. So I have this belief where I'm like, I know I have this inherent worth, and I don't want to care about what other people think of me, but I also really want to be liked. So it's like,
it's the yin and the yang, yeah.
Which one is going to win out in this kind of situation? Like, and I think whatever wins out, it depends on how much I care about the other person's opinion of me. I think that's what it is.
I think for me it's I think it's the fear of as you two know, I have an autoimmune disorder which I had in the US, and it became a very debilitating disease called Guillain-Barré syndrome with encephalitis. And one of my biggest fears is that I will never become the man I believed I could be. As we mentioned, there are some days where I feel 100%. When you look at me, you can tell nothing's wrong. On other days, maybe I just slept funny, or it was raining outside, or somebody gave me a finger the day before. We don't know, but I won't be able to function. Whether it would be so I get triggered easily, or my legs will start uncontrollably shaking. So that's a fear I have, is that inconsistency just keeps on coming in. And obviously with rest and rehabilitation, things have improved, but it's not a guaranteed thing. And I've joined a few online support groups of people with my condition and all their relatives, supporters, loved ones, so people who are in the know. And it's difficult because a lot of people have confirmed that some of them, it's been decades, and there's no semblance of normalcy at all. And it's tough because, I was speaking to this one person. Her dad has been bedbound for the last 30 years. As in, he can't even get in a wheelchair. That's how bad it is. So, I mean, in some ways, it's a cause for reflection, because, I mean, look at me. I can do all this. I can drive. I can almost live a normal life. So I've healed 99%, which is amazing. But there is that slight fear, Jamie, of regression.
So I never know how to pronounce the syndrome. Can you say it for me once again?
Yeah. It's called Guillain-Barré syndrome.
Guillain-Barré. So
yeah, there you go.
The first time I had ever heard of this was because a friend of mine here in New York got it, came down with the case of it, like whatever adjective you want to put on that. He had Guillain-Barré. Guillain-Barré?
Correct.
He had Guillain-Barré syndrome. And he is, I'm going to say is, such a brilliant improviser. And he went on a trip to see his brothers. Like he and his brothers hadn't gotten together for years. And he planned this trip, and they're like, hey, let's like go camping or something like that. And all of a sudden his body just started shutting down when they were like out doing whatever.
Wow.
And everyone freaked the fuck out. And they're like, what is happening? His name is Giovanni. So everyone called him Gio. So Gio's body just like shut down basically. And it turned out it was Guillain-Barré. And I've talked to him a handful of times over the years since then, but he now basically is at a point where this was maybe like 12 years ago, something like that.
Wow. Okay.
But he basically moves and gets around now like he has cerebral palsy. And like he hasn't made that full rehabilitation. It's a terrible disease. Terrifying. It's
difficult because like you're stuck in your own head, and I think I may have mentioned this before. Like they think I got infected because I was camping in the Atlanta mountains, I think it was, and they think that's how I got it. And the hard part is like there's no real cure. There's only so much blood transfusion you can do. There's only so much rehabilitation you can do. And the sad part is basically because you're infected with this alien bacteria, and your body it can't tell friend from foe, so it attacks itself. And it's frustrating because there's only so much medicine can do. Though I mean, you could literally change out all the blood in your body, but that will only help so much.
Jeez.
Wow.
But there is something beautiful, I think, that came out of it, in the sense that it's really given me a perspective I've never had before. You pay attention to the little things. Whenever I see an older person or a woman surrounded by 10 kids or someone with a disability, I make it a point to just try and be a bit more helpful. I take time out of my day to really be in the moment. Let's say if you're with a friend, a relative, or just doing something you love, be present in the moment, because you never know when that's going to be your last. And even though, let's say, I'm making plans towards the future, which we'll all have to do, I try not to think 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. I'm literally thinking, what am I going to do 2 months from now? And not in the sense that I've got a death sentence or anything. I don't. It's just that you kind of get this feeling that everything is so brittle and so gentle. And obviously with all three of us, we've all encountered losses with friends and with family very unexpectedly. And it reminds us that, life's a very, very gentle thing. You never know. And in the back of your mind, let's say whenever you're doing an assignment or you've got a chore to do, or you want to make time for so and so forth, in the back of your mind, you're like, that can wait till tomorrow. Yep, I'll pencil that in sometime next week. And it's a very normal thing to do. But one thing I've learned is you really have to enjoy yourself in the moment and just do it.
I think a lot about that exact concept a lot with my mom. She just turned 81 years old. She's not 81 years young. She's 81 years old. She knows that. We make fun of her for it. We're that kind of family.
You old bitch. Yeah.
So I just got my mom to start saying the word fuck fairly recently. It's very funny. It's very funny. Anyway.
Is she still Mormon?
Say what?
Is she still Mormon?
She is, which makes it that much funnier.
Oh. Look at you little devil.
Anyway, I like I said, my dad died 7 years ago, and I am very aware that she is aging, and her time left on this planet is not infinite, and every day that becomes more and more aware to me, and I try to keep that mental note of, I have to call my mom today, I have to call my mom tomorrow, like, we need to connect more, we need to connect more. She lives with my brother in Virginia, so they get to see her on a regular basis, but I don't. And it's out of sight, out of mind, and it is so difficult to keep reminding myself that you need to make time, and I just don't.
That's okay. I mean, like with technology today, like what the three of us are doing right now, we're having this full-on conversation, and um, well, there you go. And not just like,
I
not
have
just with,
to.
I know. It's not just people in our situation where we are in, we know what to do, but obviously with our older relatives, they all have a niece, a nephew, a child who can put them in this space. So you never know. I mean, worst comes to worst, if you you don't have the circumstances to go back to Virginia for whatever reason, I'm sure you can, barring the obvious phone calls you can make, just arrange like a video call.
Well, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 1,000 things that I could be doing. I'm just not. Life and busy, and this, that, and the other. I've got toys to collect, Jared.
Priorities, yeah.
I think I'm closer to Sharad with prioritizing and trying to stay present in the moment. I think I've maybe talked about this briefly in the past on one of these streams, but because my mum was 50 when she passed away, it's like I'm 9 years away from that at this point. And knowing that she died so young has been constantly on my mind. It's been one of the reasons that I'm just like, I don't feel like I can plan too far into the future, because like with that history, I'm just like, I need to accomplish as much as I can as young as I can, because I don't know how much life I have left. And so I try to prioritize, and this is one of the reasons I try to make amends with people, I think, with people that I've wronged, because I'm like, I don't know how much time I have to be able to have those kinds of reconciliations. If it's possible, I want to make the most of the time that I have with the people that I care about. And if I've wronged someone, I hope that we can resolve it so that I can still have time with them. But of course that doesn't always happen. But we prioritize the people who matter to us most, I suppose. And sometimes the people that matter to us most are do not feel the same way towards us. So we need to prioritize where there's mutual interest in staying present in those moments as well. So
I mean, like I think it's interesting where I think a lot of us do tend to put a lot of emphasis on effort. Like for example, my birthday was 8 days ago, and one of my friends who I haven't spoken to in years, he literally just rang me over Facebook Messenger. He rang me, and we had a 20-minute conversation, just catching up, and it meant so much. And it really, really did. And we weren't close friends by any means, but the fact that he reached out, he's like, "Hey, how are you? What have you been doing?" And we it was a lovely phone call, and it meant a lot. So it's just little things like that, I think, about it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, one of my former co-workers when I was a tour guide just called me up on Tuesday maybe. No, I think it was Monday, and I hadn't spoken to him since, you know, early on in the pandemic, I think, when after we were all laid off. And it was really nice to hear from him. But on top of that, like, because I hadn't spoken to him, I don't think that he was aware of my current situation or anything. But he was like, there's this, you know, I have someone who is, you know, working on a startup who's looking for people. Do you want me to kind of put your name forward? And I'm like, wow, it was really nice to be thought of in that way, because it was like, especially out of the blue. So it's really nice to know that people are thinking about you when you haven't spoken to them for a while.
Yeah, it gives you that warm, fuzzy feeling inside, doesn't it?
It's like, nice. Oh, I still matter to you.
Kind of funny that we're talking about this. The other day, I don't know if it was a butt dial, but there's this woman that I used to be friends with, and I guess we still are friends. I don't know. We haven't spoken in, I don't know, 6-7 years. Like, we just haven't, just kind of been out of contact. She just called me out of the blue at like midnight 2 nights ago, and like it rang like once, and then she immediately hung up. But I was like, wait a second, whoa, that's interesting.
But you didn't actually speak to her?
No, I didn't answer the phone. Even if I had answered the phone, she probably would have hung up. Well, I guess it wouldn't have been a butt dial because she hung up immediately afterwards. So
yeah,
but yeah, I thought it was kind of weird. Maybe I should just call her back and hang up after one ring.
You know,
I was literally supposed to say that. Yeah.
She's like, why would you call and then hang up after one ring? It was like she chickened out of whatever it was that she wanted to say to you. So.
No, I think. I mean, maybe. Who knows? Star lady, I'm married now. Yeah.
Guys, while you were talking, I kind of went ahead and created a little set of trivia questions for both Demon Slayer and for Frasier, broken up into easy, medium, and hard.
Oh, Frasier! That's the other thing that is high.
Yeah, you mentioned Frasier, so I put that down. So, can we go with Frasier first if you guys are game? How about we go? I'll ask an easy.
Can I also potentially answer the Frasier questions?
Of course you can.
I have all of Frasier on DVD.
Perfect. So I've got Frasier and I've got Demon Slayer. This is both sets will apply to the floor.
Can we alternate questions? Can we do one Frasier and then one Demon Slayer?
Perfect. First things first. Let's start with Frasier, since you both are familiar. Would you like easy, medium, or hard?
Oh, let's just start at the easy in both categories and then just
work way up.
Yeah. Okay. Like number one for Frasier. What is the name of Frasier's favorite coffee shop?
I know.
Do you know?
Go for it.
Cafe Nervosa.
Ding, 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 ding. One to Mike. Well done. Now shall we go with Demon Slayer? Or
Sure.
Yeah. Nice. Do that.
Well, Mike has no chance of getting any of the Demon Slayer ones right. So.
Okay. All right. In that case, let's stick with Frasier. That was easy. Let's go to medium.
Wait, how many questions are there?
There is 5 questions in each category. So in total, I have 15 questions. Actually, how about this? Let's do the whole 15 since we're all Frasier people, right? Okay. What is the name of Frasier's psychiatrist brother?
Niles Crane.
Correct. Number 2.
Look, David Hyde Pierce is my favorite of that whole show.
Oh, nice.
We have Frasier Crane.
Oh, look at that hairline.
We have Niles Crane. And then we have Martin and Eddie.
Nice.
Oh, that's lovely. Nice. Well, my second question is going to be, what's the name of Frasier's father? You've already answered that. Next question.
John Mahoney.
What is the name of Frasier's producer at KACL? What is the name of Frasier's producer at KACL?
What, is that Roz? You know? Yep. Or is someone? Yeah, that's Roz.
Say that again. All right, ding, ding, ding. Roz Doyle. Yeah. What is the name of Frasier's building?
Elliot Towers.
I will accept the correct answer
Elliot
is
Bay
the
Towers.
Bay Towers, correct. Now we go on to medium. What is the name of Frasier's ex-wife?
Oh, I know.
Lilith.
Yes.
Correct. Ding, ding, ding. What is the name of Frasier's therapist?
What is the name of Frasier's therapist?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would counter in which episode.
I only have one name. I'll give you a clue. It's a female.
Is it? Well,
Okay,
yes.
so it's not his mentor then.
Didn't he sleep with her? Did he sleep with his therapist, or am I thinking of somebody else?
I'll give you a second clue. The name starts with an N. Dr. N.
I don't know.
I don't know this one.
Dr. Nora.
Dr. Nora. I know that name.
Mm-hmm.
Does it give an episode or like?
No, it just says no. I'll have to look into it. Next one. What is the name of Frasier's nemesis?
Oh, that's the guy who lives upstairs. That's Cam Winston.
Incorrect.
Okay, then who's?
I can.
Dominica, you have to go.
No, I can give you the nemesis of Jerry Seinfeld.
Newman.
Newman.
Hold on.
Frasier's nemesis would be Kenny Daly.
That's not his nemesis. That's his boss. I challenge whoever wrote this questionnaire.
Blame me. Okay. You answered what's the name of Frasier's dog. That is Eddie. Correct. What is the name?
Does anyone know the name of the actor dog that plays
I do
Eddie?
not.
Moose.
Oh, that's so cute. So cute. What is the name of Martin's girlfriend?
Which girlfriend? He had many.
Could you throw out a couple of names? Maybe you might hit one.
Sherry. Say what?
No, not that one.
It went for 11 seasons. Come on, guys.
I know. Let's see. He dated Sherry. Was not his first girlfriend.
I'll give you a clue. Her first name starts with an I.
Ingrid?
No.
Isabel. I'm just going to throw out I names.
An I.
Martin's girlfriend.
I can't think of the name. Wendy Malick. He ended up marrying Wendy Malick in the last season. But what was her name? Was it Irene?
Ding! There you go. Well done. Irene Adler.
That is an obscure... She wasn't even a main relationship. Like, Sherry stuck around for like half a season.
Oh, okay.
I don't even know if it's not Irene.
What is the name of the opera that Frasier and Niles frequently attend?
Oh, God.
What is the name of the opera that Frasier and Niles frequently attend?
Is this an opera or the opera house?
Opera. I believe it's the Opera House. I could be wrong.
Oh, it's the name of the opera house.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, geez, that I don't know.
Dominica, any guesses?
No.
La Boheme.
Well, that's an
That's
opera.
the opera.
La Boheme.
Oh. All right. What is the name of the
writing these questions?
I don't know. What is the name of the restaurant where Frasier and Niles often have lunch? What is the name of the restaurant where Frasier and Niles often have lunch?
I feel like I'm done with these questions now.
They hang out a lot at Cafe Nervosa, but where they often have lunch. Hold on. Oh, it's
I'll give you a clue. It's
French.
a color. It's a color and an animal in the name.
He ended up dating the baker. At that restaurant. It's I can't. It's on the tip of my tongue. I can't.
It's called the pink elephant.
No. What?
Yep. It's called the pink elephant.
I think we're done with the questions now. But I will bring this back to our, deepness and vulnerability kind of style of the stream. So bringing up David Hyde Pierce, as I did earlier, reminded me of a story where I was in New York in, I believe it was 2007, because I was doing another round the world trip with my then husband and my daughter, and she was just a baby. And we were in New York during the I think it was the stagehand strike, so there weren't any Broadway shows happening because of that. But David Hyde Pierce was supposed to be in a Broadway musical at the time called, I think it was Curtains. And I really wanted to see it because I'm like, I would have the opportunity to see David Hyde Pierce. Like I was like, that's what I want to do for my birthday. But there was one night that it may have been when the strike ended, or probably it must have been. And so it was on my birthday, I think, that Broadway shows were happening again. And my then husband had already bought us tickets to see Spamalot, the Monty Python musical.
Very nice.
And I'm not a big Monty Python person.
How dare you?
So I was more upset that I didn't get to see David Hyde Pierce perform, and instead Spamalot was a great show.
Oh, that's so cool. He looks thrilled.
I got one.
Yeah, that's pretty badass.
So you never got to meet him ever?
So I didn't get to see it. I was really sad about that. And the way that my ex-husband tried to make it up to me, I guess, was his parents bought the soundtrack for that Broadway musical with him singing on it for me. I think Christmas that year. So I still got to hear the music, but it's not the same.
It's not
right? It's not the same as. I had no idea what the songs were about because I wasn't, I hadn't seen the musical.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
that sucks.
Yeah.
And it sucks even more when you have an asshole friend who just rubs it in your face.
Right? God, why are you gonna be such an asshole, Mike?
Not that I'm trying to, be the biggest David Hyde Pierce fan or anything, but do you want to see my tattoo?
Look, oh my god.
No.
Have you got a trousers, Mike, just on your lower back?
You're welcome to be a bigger David Hyde Pierce fan than me. I have no qualms about that. It was just like, I have a thing about I like to see, if there are opportunities for me to see actors that I've admired in any kind of capacity, I like to try and jump at that. Like I got to see Robin Williams perform stand-up comedy in Hawaii.
Amazing, yeah.
I flew to Hawaii specifically so I could watch him perform, right? Like that's
really, really cool.
And you got to see something that no one else in the world will be able to see in future.
Again.
So that's an amazing experience.
That was a big thing that went through my mind when I learned that he'd passed away. I was like, oh, thank God I got to see him. Right. Yeah. When I was in Las Vegas a couple of times, I was lucky to have the opportunity to see Whoopi Goldberg do stand-up comedy.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and the first time I saw David Spade do stand-up comedy was he would happen to be performing in Las Vegas while I was there on a different trip. And he was performing on the same bill as Ray Romano, who I wasn't as big of a fan of, but it's still cool. And
Sure.
Brad Garrett has a comedy club in Las Vegas, so he popped on at the end of the night as well. I was like, oh my god,
that's cool.
And that's why like SF Sketchfest is such a big thing for me, right? Like I just saw Richard Kind, a tribute to Richard Kind this past weekend, and I was like, so I like that. In a couple of weekends, I'm getting to see Catherine Hahn.
Nice.
And yeah, I'm probably not as big of a fan of her as what like other people are. I'm mainly familiar with her because of WandaVision and Agatha All Along. But yeah, having opportunities like that, it's like I gotta jump at those opportunities.
You ever watch
when
the
I can.
Bad Moms movies?
No.
Oh, they're wonderful. In fact,
She's in that.
Yeah, she's one of the three main characters. Catherine Hahn is just a gem, just an absolute gem. But also, the Bad Moms movies are really, really good.
I think I had wanted to watch those, but I kind of had forgotten about them. So I will have to look it up. Yeah, I saw at Sketchfest Neil Patrick Harris. They did a tribute to him a few years back, and again, he's someone that I know who he is, but I haven't seen that much of what he's done. But it was just like,
and he's a real showman as well.
Oh yeah. So
yeah, he's a real showman.
To see that. So yeah, I sometimes it's like I think sometimes I go just because I know other people would be jealous of the names of the people that I'm seeing. But most of the time it's because I'm actually interested, even if I haven't closely followed their careers. So yeah, like I got to the point where when I was writing my memoir, I was just dropping names of all the stand-up comedians that were famous that I went to see after moving here. So like, but because my memoir is partly about my stand-up history a little bit as well. So it's like, this is one of the highlights of living in the San Francisco Bay Area is being able to see people like Jerry Seinfeld and Chris Rock and Martin Lawrence and Chris Tucker and
all the Chris's.
All yeah.
Also, if I may for a moment, Dominica, I would just like to take a moment and apologize. I feel like there may have been a moment a bit ago that I may have touched a nerve. Just kind of like the David.
Oh no, that no, I was fine.
Just in case I had touched
monster.
Monster. You were expressing something very deep and personal, and I was making light of it. So I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't being too much of an asshole.
I did not take it seriously, but I appreciate you taking accountability for yourself and checking in, because that is what good friends do.
You're a good man, Mike.
Because I would hate for, I feel like stuff like this happens all the time in conversation, right? One person is being genuine, another person is being flippant, and there's nothing wrong with either side of that, but sometimes those wires get crossed, and I just want to make sure that wires didn't get zapped.
I love that we can demonstrate what that looks like on a live stream in a moment. Because usually for me, I mean, especially with how soon that happened, right? For me, when it can take me a long time to process how I'm actually feeling about a thing. Yeah. So I might be fine about this now, and if you hadn't said something, I might be stewing like in a couple of days' time after I had time to think about it, right? I don't know. Yeah. But that's what can happen sometimes. And but at the same time, I feel like it's sometimes the other person's responsibility to step up and say, hey, that actually bothered me when you did that. Yeah.
50-50.
Yeah.
I think it's really important that, obviously the older we are, the more experience we have. And I think it's important for us to check in. This reminds me a lot of something, and it still bothers me, the fact that, we're talking about this and this memory comes up. I was with a friend of mine. I think we were about 19 or 20. We were at university. And he very, very kindly, my friend Drew, very, very kindly invited me to his family home nearby London. And we drove down together, had a fantastic time with his family. And me, him, and his sister were at this local pub just having a glass of wine. And she asked me, "Oh, like, so what does Drew normally do when he's not in class?" And I just very flippantly said, "Oh, Drew normally, like, he plays video games, he watches TV. He doesn't really socialize that much unless he's with me at a house party." And she looked at him and she went, "Drew, are you some sort of loser?" And I looked over back at him and his eyes just dropped. And I will never, ever, ever feel. Honestly, it was the worst feeling in the world. And mind you, this was over almost 20 years ago, give or take. And to this day, I'll message him every few years and just go, "Dude, again, I'm so sorry," because that still haunts me.
Yeah.
About what I said.
No, I get that. I'm still. I talked about this a little bit last week with Sharad, but again with the whole situation with Lee ghosting me and learning what it was that kind of led to that situation. At the point again where there's a part of me that wants to apologize now that I've had time to process like more details of it. I want to reach out and apologize, but like I was trying like to record myself saying some stuff, and I was like, it feels insincere doing it as a recording, like so I don't know, like, so I have those kinds of regrets that it eats at me, and I was like, I don't know if I can ever sincerely apologize if it's not something that if he even wants to. I don't even know if it's something that he would want, like,
Yeah.
but it still eats at me.
I think it's difficult when you record yourself because obviously, let's say you're doing it just so you can review back on it and see what worked, what didn't work. But then later on, when you're in the moment, all of it will just go out the window.
Oh,
so
well, I mean,
yeah.
I was thinking of it like sending it as a video message, because there's no way that I would be able to get him on a conversation with me to have that conversation, right? And it's not like I can get back on a plane to go and apologize in person again,
How much live stream ad space in Malaysia?
Just get a billboard nearby his house, yeah.
Yeah. Just,
I don't have his address, even if that was something I could do.
Well, you've got spies. I'm sure you've got spies.
Yeah.
I would not ask any of his closest friends, who I'm also friends with, to do something like that for me. Because
money talks.
Weird. No, I've been very intentional about not talking to any of my mutual friends of his who he's closest with about him. I've been very intentional about that.
Yep.
Very fine about talking about him to our mutual friends who he's not close with. Totally fine with that. But the ones that are close to him, no. Because I think there's a part of it is like I don't necessarily want it to get back to him. Not necessarily that they would say anything to him about it, but I mean, sure, like he could be watching the live streams and he was finding out about it anyway. I highly doubt it. So like that's why I feel like I have the freedom to say whatever the fuck I want about him on the live streams. I'm like, there's no chance that he's watching this.
Sharad, that question kind of made me wonder for the both of you, or rather that the story that you shared made me think of, what are some things that you have both said to people in the past that you deeply regret?
Okay, I have a good example that is not a Lee example.
Go for it.
And this is my best example that led to like a fallout and a reconciliation, and I love this. And I was just I was having a conversation with somebody just this past week where it came up as well, I think. So when I was, first year of my daughter's life, and I was like breastfeeding, stay-at-home mom, feeling exhausted, no time to myself, all of that kind of thing. My bestie in Australia, she has chronic fatigue syndrome.
That's
And
tough.
so very debilitating condition that she has to live with. And in my, postnatal depression mindset, was looking at her life situation, having the freedom to play video games whenever she wanted, flippantly said to her something to the effect of, I wish I could have your life so I had the freedom to play video games whenever I want, or something to that effect. And she was rightly hurt by that, because she would have given anything to not have chronic fatigue syndrome and to be living that. She would love to have the life that she could, do whatever she wanted, and like have a career and stuff. So she told me outright how awful it was for me to say, and said she didn't want to be my friend anymore. And so she cut me off, and I'm just like, I took a long time to reflect. I mean, I tried to fix things in the moment, because that's what I kind of do. But I wasn't good at it. And it wasn't until right before I was moving to Malaysia the following year that I was going through my all of my belongings and deciding what to keep and take to Malaysia with me, what to get rid of. I came across I was packing like my Nintendo 64 games, and I came across a Star Wars game. I'm not a Star Wars person, but I knew she had a Nintendo 64 as well, and that she did like Star Wars things. So I just decided to reach out to her by email, apologized for how I was in that situation, expressed my deep regret for how I behaved, and let her know, like, I'm not, if you don't want to reconnect, that's fine, but I came across this video game, was wondering if you would be interested in having me send it to you before I moved to Malaysia. And that was my olive branch. And she came around and apologized for her side of things as well. And
Okay.
yeah, and then we've been friends again ever since. But yeah, like,
I love that the story has a happy ending.
Yeah, I was about to say happy ending. That's nice.
Because
so,
I've definitely been in those situations in the past where, like, I say something just not thinking, or even if it hasn't been myself, like plenty of people have been in these situations where you say something not even taking into consideration their point of view, their reality, and they have such a snap, like, because that's I, did you say something insensitive? 100% yes. But was it the kind of thing that most people would look at and say, it's that's it, we're done, I'm never talking to you again? Like, that was definitely a harsh reaction. So I'm very glad that the both of you really had the
yeah,
ability to come together and kind of rectify both of your halves.
yeah, it was that experience that kind of always gave me hope about reconnecting and reconciling with Lee, after he cut me off in a similar fashion, except without an explanation, right? Because I'm just like, well, I've been able to repair friendships that have really mattered to me before, so maybe with time. But it does take like both sides to kind of be in that position to really process and think about, well, how much does this person actually mean to me? Did I overreact in the situation? Or did I misinterpret their intention behind it? Which was what happened most recently with Lee. And yeah, so not everyone can do that.
What up?
Sharad.
I don't know. I think it's just a very, very difficult thing to really answer. It's I don't know. It's just, for me, I think it's a lot of what ifs run through my mind, and obviously, it's one thing for me is I look back at a lot of things I have done or should have done, and that haunts me a lot. And it's difficult because you know what they say: you shouldn't be a hostage to those memories.
Yeah.
But you can use them as a guiding tool to not repeat them again. And it's difficult because we all are in our own ways the main character in the story, right? And obviously we think of ourselves as this infallible, perfect being, and usually 9 times out of 10 we're kind of not. Not really.
9 times out of 10?
I am happy to admit my faults and mistakes. I like, this is one of my things where I was like, I want a partner who recognizes that I have faults and I'm going to make mistakes and will forgive me for them, because I know I make fucking mistakes. One of the things that when I first got back together with Lee, back in 2023, one of the things that he said to me was like, "You're perfect," and I was like, my reaction was, "Don't fucking call me perfect. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I make mistakes. I've made them with you. Like, Jesus Christ, don't look at me as a perfect person, because that's I know I'm gonna fall off the pedestal if you look at me like that." Like,
what was his definition of perfect, though?
What was his definition of perfect? I didn't ask for clarification on that. Because maybe I should have.
I say stuff like that to Kim all the time, like because it's true. For her, she's the perfect person for me. Not that she is the exact embodiment of perfection. No one is. But she's my perfect fit. Right.
But if he was able to cut me out of his life, then I can't have been that perfect, right? If that was how he was feeling. So I think that's where I kind of I have like a lot of mixed feelings around that. So it was like, but if I was so perfect for you, why would you cut me off like that? Like, why? How could you not? Yeah. So I guess my perception of why he thought I was perfect was because, I was very giving towards him. I liked getting sexy for him when, just over the computer, on Discord, our Discord video conversations and things. I would send him messages, but like, we also had like so many mutual interests, and we just got along really well. Like, we never really fought, and conversation was easy. We could talk for hours without getting exhausted by each other. So that was my I was the sexy geek girl that he envisioned, like, was his perfect kind of woman. But I wish that he was able to. I think I wanted him to acknowledge my flaws as well and let me know that he also accepted those. I think that was like, if he'd done that, maybe it would have been easier for me to express those flaws to him without worrying about walking on eggshells. Because I was so I had all these things where I'm just like, I'm worried if I say or do the wrong thing, then he's going to run away and abandon me again. And so that led to me walking on eggshells.
I mean, it's really tricky when someone thinks of you constantly as a 10 out of 10. You have that impossible standard of maintaining that, isn't it? I mean, there's no way to go up.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, yeah.
And I think because like there was a time that my ex-husband also saw me as this perfect person, and I got knocked off the pedestal, you know, fairly early on, I guess, where like there were things that I couldn't get right, and that it led me to walking on eggshells with him. So, you know, it's hard. I need to, next time I get in a relationship, I need to make sure like, please be okay with me expressing things that might not come out right, and let's have a conversation about it.
Next question.
Yeah, go on. Next question. That was really deep. That was really deep.
Did you have a full answer to that last one with the?
No, I think that was great. Let's go on with the next one.
All right. Next question from the deck.
From what?
From the deck. Did you think I said
what?
dick? Dick?
From the what?
Deck?
From the what?
Am I sounding like a Kiwi right now? Does it sound like dick?
From the dick?
From the dick?
Maybe this is the influence of seeing Rhys Darby last week on me.
maybe. Yeah. I love Rhys Darby. He's so funny.
I know, so funny. Okay, so before I read the question, this is a funny thing that I did not realize. So Rhys Darby was the first show that I went to see for SF Sketchfest this year. And I went to Cobb's Comedy Club to see him, and at the beginning of the night, usually at the beginning of every show, you know how they have that spiel where it's like, you know, don't take any photos, you know, there's your look for your nearest emergency exit, blah blah blah, that sort of thing. At the beginning of Rhys Darby's show, Rhys Darby was the person who made that announcement, and I thought, this is hilarious. I'm like, he's backstage saying this stuff right now, and then he's going to be performing like after a couple of other comedians. That's hilarious. And then it wasn't until I saw the next SF Sketchfest show where they had the same Rhys Darby announcement that I realized, oh, it was a recording.
That's really funny though.
They're using it for everything.
Why not?
Funny. It was so funny. Okay. Let's see it like this does not give you any specifics around it. It just says, why do you do it? Interpret that how you will. Why do you
¿Por qué?
Why do you do it? Because.
Why not?
Why not? Why do you do it? See, this takes me back to high school where, you know, the term do it meant having sex. It's like,
well, yes.
Do it.
Oh, do it.
That was the way that you could say it without saying it. Can't do it, do it.
I mean, we all still use that vernacular, that terminology.
I know whenever someone says do it, I just think of Emperor Palpatine from Star Wars. Anakin, do it. Come to set up, do it, Anakin.
So speaking of Emperor Palpatine.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
Oh my God.
Speaking of Emperor Palpatine, yeah.
No, because I went to a Star Wars burlesque show last year.
Oh, the Empire Strips Back.
Yes, the Empire.
Oh my God, that's a hilarious name.
It is the best fucking burlesque, regardless of whether or not you're a Star Wars fan. It was hilarious. And so they had an Emperor Palpatine, like somebody was dressed as Emperor Palpatine, naked with a giant dong waving off, like obviously not the person's real one, but it was like a puppetry kind of thing, part of the costume. And he was doing burlesque to Miley Cyrus's Wrecking Ball.
Wow.
With an actual, like, not a real one, obviously, but they had a wrecking ball on the stage that he was swinging on. And it was with his dong hanging. It was hilarious.
Can you imagine Palpatine just on the Death Star, just going, I came in like a wrecking ball, just doing that.
I came here like a wrecking ball.
Do it, Anakin.
Was
do it.
Hilarious.
I have some friends who saw The Empire Strips Back, and they just rave about it.
It is
saying
such
it's
a good
one
show.
of the best, like burlesque or Star Wars or Doesn't matter what the genre is. They said it's one of the best shows you'll ever see.
Oh yeah,
That's funny.
absolutely. So probably not a show that you'll ever get in Malaysia, Sharad.
Unfortunately not, but I'll have to wait until maybe I'm back in stateside before I
yes.
see something like that.
Yes. You know, it tours all over the country, I believe. So if you have the opportunity sometime, anyone who's watching the show, no product placement, I'm not getting paid for it. It's amazing.
What they say.
If you want to see Palpy whip it out, there you go.
I imagine they have different dances, you know, depending on they do the show differently. It's not going to be the same every year. But when I went to see it last year, that was part of the show, and it was so funny.
Is that the show when I saw this on becoming very popular on Instagram, where Darth Vader would start breakdancing? Is that the same one?
No, I don't think so.
No,
because this is definitely a strip show, burlesque, with people stripping and everything.
Feel the force, Luke. Feel the force. Yeah.
How much nudity is in that show?
Do you see cock and ball?
Just puppetry.
Because I know, like, I've seen a few burlesque shows over the years, but it's usually like how close can you get to nudity without actually showing.
Exactly. So they would still have something covering the nipples.
Okay.
Like pasties or something?
Pasties.
Yes. Yeah. They would still have at the very least that. Obviously the groin area.
Sure. Yeah.
But otherwise, I mean, one of the dances was with the slave Leia costume. So
nice.
Which is probably to be expected since that costume is so popular with the men.
Yeah, it's iconic. Yeah, it's iconic.
So popular with the men's.
Guilty.
Yeah.
Next question.
You know what? I feel like I want to grab a question from a different deck. Let me pull out.
From a different what? A different what?
Deck.
Okay.
So pull out the deck. Pull out the deck. Yeah.
Since it's intimacy, if you want to say dick, then fine.
So
just
that
pull it
reminds me
pull it out.
of once when I was working my bartender job at Lucky's.
You just whipped it out and just served it on the bar. Just
So there were three kids who were kids. Well, actually, now that I think about it, yeah, they were minors. They came up to the bar and they're all Irish. And so in their thickest Irish accents, or one kid in particular who did the ordering, he came up and he said, can I get 3 Cokes? You know, one for me and for my 2 mates. But in his Irish accent, he said, can I get 3 Cocks, please? And I was like, you want 3 what? And then everyone at the bar just
burst laughing.
They're like, what?
3 Cocks, please.
And his 2 buddies just floored, like they were laughing hysterically. And the kid who said it, he had no idea what
was he
sounded like. I was like, come on. He eventually got it, but like,
that's funny.
It was wonderful. It was wonderful.
It is hilarious. All right. Do you want a question from the past, random, life, relationship, intimacy, or about you category?
Can you list them off again?
Past, random, life, relationship, intimacy, and about you.
What about you? I don't think we've done that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Grab the about you. Random question. Is it the
Tell us about you. Come on, Dominica, whip it out.
Ooh, this is a good one. Whip it out. That's what she said. What lie have you told so much that you now believe it?
Oh, I am the best lover you'll ever encounter. I don't know. Ooh, that's tough. The best lie.
I mean, that's a hard one when you actively live your life like trying to be proactive about telling the truth
Yeah.
and being honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even it's a very white lie. I don't know. It's.
I feel like there's stories that I tell that I embellish a little bit, and that just becomes part of the narrative of the story. But oh, okay. Well, here's one. Well, I mean, I don't even believe it. Like, I don't. It's not even like I believe it. But there was a thing. Again, this goes back to Lucky's Bar, where one of my one of the managers of the bar didn't like that I was wearing yellow glasses, and so I got written up for it. There was another part of the story where it started because I wasn't wearing my name tag, and when my manager asked, like, how come you're not wearing your name tag, I was like, well, because I'm not. We're at a bar, who cares, big deal. You want to know what my name is? Ask me.
Were you that sassy to him?
Say what?
Were you that sassy in your reply? If you want to know my name, ask me, sir.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Yeah, and so they didn't like it, so they wrote me up for. Then it went to like upper management of like, well, he wasn't wearing his name tag, and he was wearing yellow glasses. But because the yellow glasses thing was so fucking petty, I just tell people that I was only written up because of my yellow glasses. I kind of leave the sassiness to the manager out of it.
Yeah, I've definitely had situations where I've left out parts of the story to make myself seem more like a hero or a victim of stories.
Yeah. I mean, that's about the extent of my lying these days.
I feel like I can't think of a specific example right of the moment, but what I want to say is one of the kinds of things of okay, no, well, I think what I want to say is I'm happy single. I think that would probably be the best example of this right now. And the reason I now believe that it's a lie that I was telling myself, like that was what I felt like that was what I had to tell myself when I got divorced. It's like, because yes, I was happier being single than with my ex-husband. And it was much better to be living my life by my own terms than having to worry about being with somebody like him. And I would absolutely still rather be single than end up in a relationship with somebody like him. However, when I got back together with Lee, and being involved with him, I got to experience what it was like to semi be in a relationship, and it made me see that that was something that I did want to have in my life. And so I had to admit to myself that actually maybe I wasn't as happy being single as I thought. And I'm going back to the no, I need to be happy with being single, because I might not ever have somebody in the future. But at the end of the day, I have a lot of pain around not finding someone that is capable of giving me what I want to have in a relationship. Like I wanted to, back when I got married, I was fine with being, you know, a more traditional woman in relationship, being the stay-at-home mum and having a man take care of me so I didn't have to, you know, work and that sort of thing. And the thing that made me get frustrated with it was the way that my ex-husband was treating me in that relationship. And so I think there's still a part of me deep down that would like to have that idealized version of a relationship. And to have a partner who is happy to take care of me unconditionally, the same way that, you know, you expect a parent to love you unconditionally, because that's how I love, right? I feel like I love unconditionally, and that's why I've accepted so much abuse in the past, is because like I want to love this person unconditionally regardless of how their behavior, because I will find excuses for it because I love them that much. And that's how people get stuck in abusive relationships because we feel like we have, you know, have to love someone regardless. So I've definitely grown from that, but I'm still I hate to admit that I'm not actually I didn't want to cry, but
It's okay.
I'm not actually as happy as I pretend to be.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that with us. But do you think, in terms of your experience, has your expectations changed with each relationship?
In terms of what should be part of a relationship, sure.
Yeah.
Like I learned to have zero expectations in my marriage, and that like I shouldn't rely on my partner to make me happy. So I went out and found the things that I needed to make myself happy. But I think there needs to be a middle ground rather than not having no expectations at all. You need to have some expectations because that's how you can speak up about your needs, right? You need to be able to express your needs. So I mean, I got to a point of like, I'm afraid of my neediness. I don't express my needs because I'm afraid that they're not going to be met anyway. But I'm not going to be able to figure that out, like all of that stuff, without being in relationship with somebody who can help me figure it out with them, right? I don't think it's something that you can figure out on your own.
No. I mean, that's why they call it being in a couple, isn't it? Like, you know, you're a pet. Mike, what is the key to a happy relationship?
I mean, you're probably asking the wrong person.
Well, you're not in a happy relationship.
Well, sorry.
Yeah, Kim, I despise her.
Yeah. You should probably ask someone with more experience. From my experience, it takes, like, everyone always says relationships are hard, and to a certain extent they are, but I really don't think that relationships need to be as difficult as the cliche makes them out to be. I feel like at the end of the day, we just want to be, not just wants to be, but we all have that need for companionship, and we need to be with someone that you have mutual respect for. Like, you really enjoy this person's company. I've told this story many times, which is, I never felt the butterfly feelings with Kim. And I nearly ended the relationship because of it. you know, every piece of media has taught me that, you know, you have to feel that Twitter-pated butterfly feeling, like you just can't fucking wait to hear from them again and see their face. And while I was definitely excited and I really enjoyed Kim's company, it was just the lack of butterflies that I was like, well, I don't feel the butterflies, so maybe that means we need to break up. And I was this close to breaking it off with her over dinner, or I guess over lunch, one day. And this thought of clarity came in my mind of, you don't need to break things off. Like, it was just before the words came out of my mouth. I had this thought of clarity. You don't need to break things off right now because you don't feel the butterflies. Wait for something to go wrong. Wait for there to be a reason. Lack of butterflies is not a reason. And I tell that story because I think so often we, in our culture, get hung up on these intense feelings of infatuation, and we confuse them for genuine love and genuine affection. And now, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with those feelings. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with acting on those feelings, but to have to have built a relationship on those uh, on infatuation alone, I think is the wrong foundation. Um, and I think that there needs to be genuine respect for each other, that doesn't end at marriage. Like, it needs that. And I think that's the hard part is, uh, we all know the trite phraseology of familiarity breeds contempt, right? And there's a lot of truth in that. It's the reason that we all have so much trouble with our family. Like, we oftentimes have more difficult communicating with our family than we do with our friends, because we know them so well, and we feel like we know them so well because we spent so much time around each other, but we haven't actually spent time on communication with them. So continuing to check in, um well, let me back up. Years ago, when I was a Mormon missionary, part of the like every moment of every day as a Mormon missionary is to the minute basically calculated for your whole day. You plan your day to the minute the night
Oh
before.
wow!
And so in
It's
the
that regimented, like A,
Yeah,
B,
it's a
C, D.
very rigid um, schedule that you set for yourselves. Uh, and every Saturday, in the mornings, you would do what was called companionship inventory, and you would take inventory of your relationship with the person that you've been paired up with. And I thought
Really?
it was such an interesting concept that
Huh.
I've never seen anywhere else before, in that if you have a problem with your companion, you hold on to it for Saturday. And then on Saturday, at companionship inventory, that's where you bring up blah, 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 and say, hey, you spoke to me in blah, blah, blah way, and I really didn't appreciate it, or whatever. And it gave you, like, it was a predetermined time that you knew that you had an outlet to share your feelings. And I always thought that that was such a clever way to approach things. And even though Kim and I don't take relationship inventory with each other, companionship inventory, I do still try to apply that principle of, we need to check in with each other periodically. We need to have those, like, and you have to pick your battles too. Like, it's not worth bringing up whatever, like the little things. If you know that it may be an irritation to you, but is the airing of your irritation going to cause bigger problems? Is it going to be a bigger fight than it needs to be? And that's another thing that I don't think a lot of people take into consideration is, how is the thing that is on my mind going to be received by the other person? What is the cost evaluation? I can't think of the term, but is it worth me sharing this just because it irritates me? If I bring it up, if I mention it, is that going to cause bigger problems? Should I just sit on this? And if it's, oh god,
I was just going to say, I like the idea of assuming good intent as well, so that when you do bring up, things that are, bothering you, if you assume good intent, then you know that they're not doing it to be mean.
Yes. Which, I mean, with your ex, it doesn't sound like granted, I wasn't in your relationship, but based off the stories that you tell, it doesn't sound like there was good intent coming from him. And you just, moments ago mentioned, and now that I was about to say it, the words left my mind. There's like the safety, I remember there was something, feeling safe, sharing information, and you didn't feel safe sharing that information, so you just clammed up and kept it to yourself. And I think those are all signs of relationships that, sure, maybe they served a purpose, but I don't think that those are the relationships that, I think those are the relationships that teach us who we are. If you are willing to keep your eyes open, if you're willing to accept that, that sometimes you are going to be the villain of your own story.
Yeah, I think it's very tricky because, I mean, there's two thoughts of mine that go into it. Do you go with your impulse and share your concerns immediately, or do you let them fester and let them grow and let them grow? Like, I'm sure both of you have seen films of TV where spouses will, seemingly normal spouses will get into arguments about how loud they chew, or what have you, and they're really animated, really angry about it. But that's something that has been built for months and years, and that's a massive fear of mine, because that's happened to me once, not with a romantic partner, but with my father. Like, just between us and I guess the whole world. I have
just here,
just here and the whole world, I suppose. I have a very complicated relationship with my father. He's a very complicated man, and but he's a wonderful, extraordinary person as well. One of his things is that he likes to critique often. And there was a time, I want to say maybe when I was 19 or 20, and I already been a driver for a few years, with a whole bunch of different models of cars. So I was a good, safe, albeit very slow driver, but I was a safe one. And he would do things where he would tell me when to indicate as to when to change lanes. If he got frustrated, he would actually grab the wheel of the car and turn it, which would be a thing. And I never said a word, because you don't want to insult your father, until it got to a point where, I think months and months down the line, it just kept happening, and I snapped. I just remember we were at a traffic light, and he was going off and off, and I just started screaming, and I just started punching the steering wheel, and I was in tears. I was just like, "Will you please stop?" And I remember like looking at the mirror and looking at him, and there was real shock on his face. It never even got into his mind that I felt this way, and to this day, he apologized. That was the only time I've ever heard him apologize to me. That was the only time. And But it reminded me, like, you never want to let it build, because I was just so emotionally and physically exhausted after. Because I remember I got home, I went straight to bed. I was just exhausted, and you never want to feel that way. So this applies, I believe, for any section in your life. You have to check in with yourself, with the person, the situation that's antagonizing you, and you have to try and nip it in the bud, because God forbid if you explode, that's the worst thing that can happen.
Yeah. You maybe don't need to say it like right in the moment the first time it happens. You take a couple of days to process and see if it is something that still bothers you, and then come back to it. But I think it's better to give yourself a little bit of space so that you're not talking about it from that reactivity headspace
reactive.
as well, right?
Yeah, agreed.
I also think that it's important that both parties make time to apologize regularly, even if you have nothing to apologize for. Even if you feel like you have nothing to apologize for, that is probably not how the other party sees the situation. And it's easier to just, swallow your pride and apologize. But again, that's also where that open communication comes into play as well. You can't apologize if you don't know
What's going on. Yeah.
what's going on.
So in those check-ins, you can be like, hey, look, I don't think that I've done anything wrong, but I just want to check in with you. If there's anything that I've done that is bothering you, let me know, and we can kind of talk it through. And let me know how you're feeling, and that sort of thing. I've one of my things that's been coming up for me recently of what I wanted to say in my new additional apology to Lee, if I ever decide to do anything with it, is the recognizing that I was getting defensive when he was trying to share his perspective with me of what was actually going on with him. So rather than taking in what he was sharing with me and apologizing for coming across the way that I did, I instead got defensive and tried to explain what was happening with me and my side of it, where I should have just been more present and listening to him. And that's kind of where it's like, oh man, I wish I had, there's so many, like, of course, I think because I was in that fear state when I was trying to have that conversation with him, I'm not at the place where I'm at now, where I've had a lot more time to process what happened and recognizing what I did wrong in those situations. And I was like, oh man, so I know now that's something that I need to work on, is take a step back. But it's so hard when you're in those emotionally charged headspaces and you're just like, but that's not what I meant.
Mm-hmm.
How can you get that idea? Like, no, take a step back. What was that experience for you? Let me reflect that back to you so that you understand that I am listening, rather than trying to give you an explanation or an excuse. Yeah.
I mean, that's such a human thing to do, right? Someone says, hey, you hurt me. Well, it was only because, we have this defense mechanism. Our brains are constantly trying to protect us, which is only natural, but it's not doing anyone any good if all you give are reasons and explanations, and you can't own your shit.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have shit to own, the other person needs to feel that empathy for them.
Yeah. Like, so, as part of my final conversation with Lee, after I went to get answers, and he did eventually give me some, I did get to a point of like taking a step back, in like, I don't know how I managed to, but some point during that conversation, I was able to take a step back, and I was like, you know what? I'm sorry for hurting you. I know I may not have intended to do so, but I did. And he was like, you don't need to apologize. And I'm like, but I am sorry that this happened. Like,
Yeah.
That's very mature of you.
But, you know, I mean, by then it felt like it was too late. You know, he didn't want to hear the apologies, which is why I'm struggling now. It's like, maybe he wouldn't want to hear a more authentic apology now that I know, like, have processed things more. Maybe he still isn't interested in receiving that. But yeah, I don't know how I managed to because it was still a very emotionally charged conversation, and to get to a point of trying to step back and take things in and figure out what was best to say in the moment. Yeah. Like there was at one point in the conversation, it was like, do you want me to validate your feelings? And that seemed like such a foreign concept to him. He's like, what do you mean? He didn't even know what that meant. So he asked me, what do you mean by that? So I had to explain it to him. So he has a lot to learn about what the
Well, there's also it's hard to accept stuff like that too, right? So like there's some of our approaches seem so obvious. Like, well, of course I should do this. Like this is something that helps a lot of people. And I am one of those people that if someone were to ask me that exact question, would it be helpful for me to validate your feelings? I get real defensive about that. Yeah, here's the thing. Yes, I want you to validate my feelings, but I don't want to know that that's
what you're
you're
doing.
The knowledge that that's what you're doing,
yeah,
it makes it feel manufactured, and it makes it feel
inauthentic.
Yes. Yeah, it takes the
yeah.
I think like Dominica, if I can, I think. Well, I mean, in Southeast Asian culture, and I'm sure both of you are very familiar. Like our families, particularly with young boys, is that you should not really share your emotions. You should not be overtly emotional. In our culture, I know it's a very broad stroke, but in my experience, for a man to show or even share his feelings, it's a sign of weakness. It's not a alpha, and to do so, it makes you less of a man. So maybe in his mindset, I mean, obviously, I can't speak for him directly, but that could be something that runs through his mind as well.
Oh, no, absolutely. And it wasn't just that. It was also, you know, he has childhood trauma stuff that he, I think, doesn't even recognize as childhood trauma that has impacted the way that he is. So, yeah, I'm very aware of that sort of thing. And I've it's one of those things that I tried to help him through, but I know it was very challenging for him to express his feelings about anything to me, like positive or negative. And yeah, but I definitely recognize there was a cultural component to it as well.
Here's a question for you. You just said these were things that you tried to help him with, right? Was this an area that you recognized that he was hurting and you assigned yourself, I'm going to help you with this? Or was that something that he expressed an interest in saying, I need help with this? Would you be able to kind of hold my hand as I embark on this journey?
That's a good question. I think it probably started out the first thing that you said, where I just recognized it was something that he needed help with. But as so I'll give you a good example. So there was, he's a stand-up comedian. He gets very in his own head and needs to close off and be by himself after a show that does not go the way that he wants. Yeah. And I recognize that's a part of who he is. And I have tried to, or had tried to you know, give him space during those times. It's very hard for me sometimes because I'm like, but I just want to support you and be there for you. And so there was a moment where he'd taken like a couple of days to process this bad show. But then we had a conversation about that, and he was able to share like all of his feelings around that, of what had happened. And then Sharad, you may remember this, like that night for him, it was the next morning for me, he did a live stream on Instagram and he talked about that, the fact that I was there for him to talk through what was going on with him. And he was acknowledging that, you know, how useful it is to have somebody that you can express those things to. So he may not have like realized it before I was like, you know, you can share this stuff with me. I want to be there for you regardless of like, you can share anything with me, even the bad stuff. Like, I'm not going to judge you for it. But I think it wasn't until after he had been through that experience and shared that stuff with me that he realized how much he did actually need to have that, and that was useful for him, and he valued that. Do you remember that him talking about that on live stream, Sharad?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So here's my next follow-up question: is we all know the concept that like consent is like tea, right? Just because somebody says that they want tea doesn't mean that, you know, that's what they always want to have, or, you know, even though you said you want tea, you reserve the right to change your mind, right?
Yeah. Consent can be withdrawn at any time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
What is the possibility that for lack of a better term, consent to be that rock that he expressed interest in needing and having and wanting? What is the possibility of him changing his mind and going, yeah, no, not anymore, I'm good?
I don't think I ever forced him to communicate with me if he wasn't ready to. I don't think there was any of that kind of thing. Because I recognized what his kind of personality was. He was more closed off, and I wanted to respect that. So I don't think there were any moments where I pushed him to talk about anything that he wasn't comfortable with, apart from during that final conversation where I needed answers, right? Yeah, I think that's the only time. But that wasn't me, you know, trying to help him in that moment, even though there were moments where I was trying to, because I wanted to reconcile in some capacity. But it was more, I need this for me in that conversation.
Sure, in that last one,
yeah.
Was it the time that I was there?
No.
No.
For my last conversation.
No, the time last time the three of us were in the same room. Do you remember that? It was a show, I think it was.
When were we all in the same?
Do you remember we went?
Where I was.
This sounds like a conversation for off camera.
I don't remember hanging out with Sharad and Lee in the same space on any of my last 3 trips.
All right, we'll talk afterwards. No worries.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, the only time that I remember is like the live stream situation that you were definitely there, because Sharad was asking him about, like, because Lee was being open about like his depression a little bit, or talking about being depressed, and Sharad was asking him about that, and so like I wasn't even pushing him to talk about it on his live stream. Sharad asked, and then Lee talked about his experience with me, and I was like, oh, he's talking about me on his live stream. He might not be naming me, but he's talking about me, which was not something he'd ever done before. So like anytime that there was those kinds of signs, I'm like, oh, he likes me.
Dominica, it feels like this chapter of our conversation is somewhat drawing to a close, but
Mhm.
it's important to me that you know and understand the value that you have as a human person, human being, human person. My brain mashes those words together, so human person.
He's mashing them.
Mash them, keep mashing together.
Michael's really an alien.
That was privileged information.
Oh.
But no, you have so much value and love and attention, and you are such a beautiful human being that these feelings of loss and understanding of yourself and understanding of your situations with Lee, these are moments, and I hope you can understand that, and have that realization that these are just moments. These are not moments that you are going to live in eternally, and maybe you will find companionship and maybe you won't, and both options are good. Both options are good. I understand that based on what you previously said, that the loss, or sorry, the absence of companionship is you have feelings about and emotions about, and it makes you feel a certain way.
Yeah.
Whether that continues or whether that doesn't, you always, forever and always, are valuable to you, to yourself, to your family, to your community, to your friends, and on a greater, larger purpose.
Thank you.
Nothing's going to change that. As long as you are true to yourself, as long as you, and what I mean by that is, don't lie to yourself. Tell yourself the truth. Be open to change. Be open to learning things about yourself. I mean, fuck, Dominica. You just a couple of years ago, you found out that you're autistic. That is quite a revelation for someone to have. And you have dealt with it, at least in my purview, with grace, dignity, and acceptance. Those are some of your best defining characteristics, not just about yourself, but for anyone that you direct that towards. You were loved.
I think that's why it hurts so much that I don't have someone, because I know I have value. Like, and I'm not in the same space before where I felt like I deserved all the punishment that I got from my ex-husband. Like, I now have self-esteem and self-respect, and that's why when I wasn't getting the stuff that I wanted in the relationship with Lee, I was like, as much as I love him, this is so hard. I don't know how to express what my needs are. So, things imploded and self-sabotage happened or whatever. But I was at least at the place where I'm like, I value myself more to not let myself stay in a situation that doesn't seem like it's going to get to become what I want it to be. So I recognize that I have these values. I recognize this value, and I believe that I have this value. I don't want to have to prove myself to someone that I'm worthy, because I know I am. I know I have a lot of love to give, but I don't understand why, even with all of that, it's so hard to find another person to see that wants to be with me. Like, friends, I have so many friends. I'm very, very lucky to have all the friends that I have that see that. see and have all those feelings about me. But there's just something about having a companion that you can communicate with every day that also sees that.
It's a very difficult thing you're going through, and I don't think many people will understand. But from what if I may, is you have so much of yourself to give. And I think that it's a beautiful thing that you put yourself out there. And it's important yourself to keep putting yourself out there. Because honestly, you never know. Lightning can strike when you least expect it. You could be heading out to the local garage to get like some 2-day-old sandwich or whatever, and you could bump into the love of your life. You never know.
Hang on, why are you buying a 2-day-old sandwich in this hypothetical?
Because it's tangy, okay, and it's 50% off. That's why, Michael. Okay, and like, you never know. Like, honestly, in a lot of my experiences, whenever like you go into something expecting it, 9 times out of 10, it never happens. Whether it's romantic, business, whatever. If you, but at the same time, don't go into anything with zero expectations because you're selling yourself too low. You're an amazing person, and I think any man would be very, very happy. So you just have to put yourself out there because you never know, lightning could strike.
So that leads me to my next question. What are you actively doing about it?
Not dating.
She's going on OnlyFans. Yeah,
I don't know what I'm supposed to do about it. Okay, so here's one thing. So, Mike, you missed last week, but the previous stream, you brought up how that show, The Oracle, was coming to San Francisco, directed by Jonathan Pitts. And,
oh, right, yes.
So when I went to see that show, a stranger came and sat next to me because there was an empty seat, and I struck up a conversation with him.
Nice.
That's great.
Yeah. So I'm trying to do more of that.
That's great.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
let me ask you this. Is your mind frame at this particular juncture in life, are you dating? Have you?
Oh, I said I wasn't.
No. Well,
open.
No. What I mean by that is whether you're going on dates or not, do you consider yourself in your mind that you are dating?
That I am what?
Dating. Are you on the market?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
So that's the first step, is telling yourself, I am looking for someone. I am actively open. I'm actively looking for someone. And then make it happen. Put yourself in situations to meet people as opposed to waiting for someone to meet you. And while you still may be waiting for someone to meet you, you still need to make the effort. It's like it's like Hitch, right? It's that, you lean in 70% and the other person has to lean in 30, right? So do the 30% or do the 70%. Go to a place where people meet each other and make that habitual.
Yeah, I mean, it goes down to the old sports analogy that you miss all the shots that you don't take.
Yeah, well, I'm going to comedy shows on my own. So if I happen to find somebody interesting, but it doesn't really happen very much that there's like, I would love it if they, because I'm sitting by myself at a show, come and sit somebody who is like, that could be in the realm of possibility next to me.
So there's your first mistake, if I may. If I interpret, I'm going to interpret what I think you're saying is that from your perspective, you were putting yourself out there by going to one singular venue. Maybe not a venue, but like you were going to a place for a thing. Well, guess what? Everyone is going to that same place for that same thing. People are there to see the show. People aren't necessarily there to mingle.
Mm.
So while in your brain you're telling yourself, well, I'm going out, I'm open to meeting people. Are you going to singles meetups? Are you going to are you on any of the dating apps?
Oh,
Like the free
no,
ones?
I've tried those. They're not
Not for you.
I know
they're
they're
not,
gross.
no.
I know
They're
gross.
disgusting.
But there are still meetup groups that people get together and you know, go take a pottery class, take a this class.
I agree.
I think the thing that I get tripped up with is you know, all of my best relationships have started out as friendships, and so the idea of dating, because I'm demisexual, I need to have the emotional connection first. I don't want to feel rushed into something. And I feel like that's what a lot of dating is. Whereas I'd rather get to know someone as a friend first, and then if something develops, that'd be great. On the other hand, like, I feel like maybe my best prospect these days would be having a friend introduce me to one of their friends that they think that I would get along with, because I feel like that would be, but I don't feel like people do that these days.
Well, sure they do.
I have explicitly said something to that effect on Facebook once. It's like, can someone just like introduce me to someone? and nobody responded.
So the whole thing about like wanting to be friends with someone first before getting into a relationship, that's all well and good, and on paper that is, I think that's the ideal, right? But that's not how the majority of relationships unfold. And by building friendships first, in my experience, that's how you get friend zoned.
You should have been in last week's episode. We talked all about friend zone stuff.
Well, see, there you go. I feel like that's where the majority of friend zoning happens. Sorry, I'm petting my cat with my foot because he insists on attention, but he doesn't want to be picked up. There's an innate risk with becoming friends with someone and then starting a relationship, because you're already friends. You already have something to lose. And if they
You already have stake in the game.
Yeah. You know, you don't want to risk the relationship. And also, this person knows you as a friend. They have already been predisposed to viewing you through the lens of a friend, as opposed through the lens of a potential candidate, so to speak. So there's nothing wrong with, you know, building relationships from friendships. That's awesome. But it's more time consuming, as you have noticed, and it comes with more risks of ending friendships, if not from your perspective, from theirs.
Yeah,
very true.
Case in point, Lee.
And then there's that. Like, you also have all of those other hang-ups too. You have a lot of other, maybe hang-ups is the wrong word, but you have a lot of other
stakes
for lack
in
of
the
a
game.
better term. Say what?
Stakes that you have to worry about.
You have a lot of shitty things that you are still sorting through. And you know, that's all shit that needs to be, some of it needs to be dealt with before you get into a new relationship, because if not, you're going to carry all that shit into the new one, and
Correct.
some of it needs to be figured out with another person.
Yeah, I recognize all of that, and that's why I hadn't, have not been actively trying to date. Even if I see myself on the market, I'm like, but I'm still dealing with this stuff. I need to get through some of this stuff first.
Yeah.
But I'm also very aware of like, there's some things that I can't heal unless I'm in a relationship with somebody.
Yeah.
Like I can read up all the stuff about how to, properly manage conversations in a relationship with, when things get hard or whatever. But unless I have someone that I can practice it with, I'm not going to know how I'm actually going to react in the moment. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
So, yeah. Sharad said earlier that he could only do 3 hours, and I'm looking at the time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's 3:09.
Yeah. Sharad didn't end up answering the last question I asked from the card. Do you want to try and answer it quickly, or?
Yeah. Could you please repose the question?
That was an hour and a half ago.
I can, yes.
Thank you.
What lie have you told so much that you now believe it?
Oh boy.
Maybe that David Hyde Pierce is your favorite actor?
That's not a lie. That's not a lie at all.
He told himself 10,000.
Yeah. Honestly, the tricky part is, like a lot of people nowadays, I'm very self-depreciating in the sense that I put myself up on a pedestal, but I'm the same person that yanks myself down. I remember like thinking to myself a while back, like, because of my illness, I remember asking myself, is it because I did something wrong? Is this karma coming back to bite me? And I do tend to go, okay, well, but I'm a good person. I would never intentionally hurt anyone. But at the same time, at the back of my mind, there's that little gremlin, that little fucker that sits right at the back there that goes, oh, but remember the time you did this, remember the time you did that. And that continually comes back to haunt me. And I do doubt myself. I'm like, is this, am I not a good person? Is this something that I brought onto myself? Is this karma coming back to me? And it's just something that I deal with. And even to this day, even where I'll do things where I think, oh, I didn't say thank you to this one person. Does that mean I'm a bad person? And it really, really does bug me, And as I mentioned, because of my illness, I lost a lot of friendships. Also because I became very clingy. I would I would always message people constantly. And I didn't realize how annoying I was getting. So it's that two-way kind of thing where you worry about, let's say, your inactions, and it does come back to bite you. So it's very, very tricky to get outside your own head.
Agreed.
So,
Yeah. Thank you for answering. But I guess.
I guess.
No. I was gonna say, I guess, like, I'm looking at the time. I don't want to keep you if you have other stuff that you need to do.
This was a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, I loved it. God, you guys are so loving and caring towards me. I genuinely.
What are you talking about? Fuck you.
It.
Fuck yourself.
No, you have to.
We're just using you for your looks, Dominica. That's it.
Look, so.
That's all.
That's why you want me to have
halo.
That's why you want me to have an Onlyfans, because of my looks.
We want to manage you. Think of the moolah.
The only way that you can consider that my male friends can conceive of seeing me naked is if I do an Onlyfans. They don't have the courage to ask me out on a date. No, I don't know where my mind is going with that.
That was called self-deprecating humor with the purpose of preserving one's own identity.
That's something.
Bazinga. Well done.
Because my brain does that all the time.
Thank you.
You people with your brains.
I was gonna say earlier, like,
it's a rental.
I was gonna say, Mike, you made me cry, and then I corrected myself. I was like, no, I am crying. You didn't make me do anything. I have to reframe this stuff in my mind sometimes. It's like, it is a reaction, but the other person didn't make me have that reaction. I'm just feeling it. And it's like I need to take ownership of those moments, right? It's like, this is what I'm feeling.
Conversely, I have that stoicism, sometimes, like that very clinical approach to things sometimes. So like, you know, case in point, this last weekend, my buddy just died. And so at his house with his wife and kids, like we're all sitting in room, and like tons and tons of people are there, you know. And you know, sometimes they have that moment where they bury their head, and just there was this one moment that his wife had where she owned up to a confession that she felt so terrible about. I'm not going to share what it is because that's her business, but you know, and I just sat there and listened to it, and you know, everyone else is, you know, wrapping their arms around her saying, "Oh, it's not your fault, it's not your fault, it's okay," like ooh, all this stuff, right? And I'm just sitting there just like taking it all in. Cool. And then, you know, respond accordingly, but like I don't match emotions with people in that way. I do have sometimes more of a clinical approach, and I am aware that sometimes that seems a little standoffish. But I mean, just same thing. Like we all have different emotional approaches to things.
I mean, conversely, I think that's great because the opposite side of the spectrum, we always have that one friend or family member that is just so emotionally fragile. At the same time, it can be overwhelming. So you're the yin to their yang.
Oh yeah, I know I have so many emotions. I worried about being overwhelming if I expressed everything that I'm feeling in any given moment sometimes. So
But the fact that you're thinking about it shows that you can control yourself. So there you go.
yeah, so I've learned to control myself because of the
Good.
times where people have not been able to handle it, which is also not always the greatest experience, because
No.
I would like to be around people that I can trust to be my whole self and express my whole self with during those moments of overwhelming emotion. Because otherwise it feels like I'm repressing myself to make other people comfortable.
I feel you.
Yeah. Anyway, that seems like a good place to end it. Brush that under the rug. This is how I deal with my emotions.
Yeah.
No, I was like, we've been wrapping up for the last 5-10 minutes now. Thank you everyone who has tuned in to watch. If you're watching after the fact, thank you so much for watching and staying through to the end. I always I'm checking the analytics all the time, so I like seeing that I have new viewers come along and watch the whole thing. It's amazing to me. I would love it if you wanted to leave a comment with your thoughts, what you enjoyed, a question that you would like us to ask in the next stream or an upcoming stream. Would be awesome if you did that. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. Share it with your friends if you enjoyed it. Share with your friends. All that good stuff that helps us continue on. We'll do it anyway, but it's been a blast. I love talking with these guys, and yeah,
I'm gonna make this tiny dog disappear.
No, it's gone. It's gone.
Oh, to be honest, I was worried it's going to do something else then. So okay, that's fine.
No, that was exactly what I expected.
Okay.
No, it's
like,
okay.
I don't think that's even PG.
I don't know what you were thinking. We can talk about that after the stream.
Mhm.
But it turned into James Bond.
Transconfiguration.
Nice.
Yeah, and we do this pretty much every week. So just pay attention to the channel. I announce the streams. I put up the date in advance so that you can check out when we're doing the next one. And hope to see you guys again soon. Bye.
Boy.